You know, every week I come in thinking that I'm gonna have less to do, but there just ends up being even more. It's like 2024 is a breath of fresh air, far more games than I ever thought that I could ever have my hands on, but it's like we're finding diamonds in the rough left and right. First it was Power World, then it was Helldivers 2, now last Epoch, and we're talking about ARPGs, which might just be a specialty, so to say. So, welcome, my friends. Welcome back to the Just Gaming Podcast, as today we are talking about all things video games. Everything that's happened in the last week and far more in store that you are most likely not even prepared for. Neither am I. So I want you to take a seat. Grab your favorite beverage. Join us in the chat. Celebrate for another week of incredible gaming, another month of incredible gaming, and far more in store. I gotta find the button. Yes.
Yes. Hello. Happy Sunday, folks.
Welcome back to the Just Gaming Podcast. My name is Ian, your host, and with me is my co-host,
Mark
and Arx.
Mark and X. Yeah. I used to love Mike and Ike's as a kid. They're delicious. Yeah, that and the Good and Plenty's. I think the Good and Plenty's, though, they were like the black licorice version with like covered in like Pepto-Bismol. But man, candy in the 80s was great.
Bro, you are literally disgusting me on levels I didn't even know were possible.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be real. I did not see this coming. It's
Did
almost too much.
They used to have that black licorice chewing gum. It's pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You need to stop. You need to stop. Jesus. All right, so let's get this show on the road, okay? We got a good and plenties to talk about.
I'll spit my drink. That's all Jackie's comment.
Oh man. All right. Jax, welcome to the show. Luthien. I'm gonna Metal Boy for the win. Coming in hot, not even saying anything in the chat first, just dropping a membership on the table, dropping their member on the table. How about that? RJ Tech, Altair, Wicked Witch, of course, Gaming Fire, and many more. So, I've had a roller coaster of a week. I'm not going to go into the particulars of all of the things that have happened this week because I don't really need to drag that out here. However, plenty of gaming, a lot of gaming.
Lots of gaming.
I've been bouncing back and forth between Helldivers 2 and Last Epoch since it got its full release. I am mentally and physically preparing myself for the upcoming release of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which we'll get into later in the show as well.
Yeah, I expect to start having some dark circles under my eyes for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna get real rough here pretty soon. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. No, just a lot of gaming, couple streams this week. Had some videos do really well this week.
Yeah, you had a couple videos. I mean, one of them that I actually talked to you about off air that I disagreed with you on a point of it.
Oh, and then I blocked you.
But no, yeah, you had some pretty good videos out this week.
Yeah. Actually, the crazy thing is, not that you guys know this or anything, but the Helldivers 2 video. Helldivers 2 is a wake-up call. Yeah, it's now the second most viewed video on the entire channel.
On YouTube, like the entire YouTube, it's the second most watched video
ever
of all time.
Ever.
Despacito
all those videos
doesn't even rank. with
it's
it.
not even in there. It's not even on the list.
It's not even on the list.
Not even on the list.
So
this is what it looks, being on top, guys. I don't know what to tell you. If you guys ever want to know what the king looks like, you're looking at him right now. So yes.
oh man.
Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah.
All right, what have you been up to?
Trying to I'm hit that halfway point with the stupid night's work bull crap. So that's I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Been playing, honestly I haven't gotten to play a whole lot of Helldivers because for me that's a co-op game, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to play with randos.
Yeah.
So if I'm not on, I'm not playing. And then last Epoch is what I've been jamming, man. I still will say this, that I think the Necromancer in last Epoch is probably my favorite Necromancer in all of RPGs.
Yeah, we're gonna be getting real hot and heavy with last Epoch here in a little bit. I was trying to think if there was anything like recent that popped up to talk about before we hop into any of the game related stuff, but I can't remember now, man.
Not really. It was kind of a slow news week, to be honest with you. That, and I'm kind of over the console warring type stuff for a while.
I'm so beyond that. I'm so happy that for the most part those kind of I'm just kidding. I was about to say for the most part those conversations have died down. That's definitely not what happened. That's not what happened.
I just stopped paying attention.
I have laughed at like the delusional way that people have talked about it, where they're like, everybody thought it was Xbox, but it's actually PlayStation that's gonna have their games going third party, and it's like, yeah, but Xbox too. And then somebody like responded back saying, only 4 games.
Only 4 games.
Dude, they're like, I'm like, what is going on, guys? Just like, it's okay. Let everybody play the games.
I did see, before we get into like the major topics, I did see something that blew my mind, and it was Kingmaker. Did you see that?
Oh yeah, I saw the trailer for Kingmaker.
Yeah. So like Kingmaker, and I'm like, oh great.
Talk about subverted expectations.
Yeah,
as you're sitting there and you're like,
RTS. Oh
yeah,
my god,
RTS, and all of a sudden you drive a pickup truck through an entire group of people. I'm like, what is this?
That game looks so much fun. If it's like that game looks like a lot of fun.
Thank you for the follow over on Twitch. Yeah.
So
I had a week of getting like really spicy in my comment section on the videos lately. I don't know what it was. I just felt like lashing out at people this week.
Yeah,
I just felt like lashing out.
When people say stuff, I mean, you were reading one to me like off air where right before we started that, someone was like, last Epoch came out. Well, let's talk about good games for once, or something like that. And
yeah, somebody commented on like the Helldivers 2 video, and they're like, 2 Helldivers 2 videos, not even talking about last Epoch. Why don't we talk about some good games for once? I'm like, bro, give me a day. Like, I got stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
I got stuff to talk about.
Well, you're not talking about what he specifically wanted you to talk about right at that second.
No. I've seen this really interesting debate pop up online that I wanted to talk about. Just like this is just random. I just literally just saw this. So I've seen this like debate pop up over on Twitter, like the most sanitized place on the internet. And basically it's this weird debate between like streamers and content creators versus people that have like, service jobs, regular job, a normal person gig, right?
Yeah.
And I'm reading this person's tweet, and it says, as somebody that works a 12-hour shift with a 4-hour commute while going to university full time, streaming is easily the hardest job I've ever had. The post-stream social exhaustion is so real. I don't know how anyone could do it every day. Yeah. And along with that, like Mudahar, some ordinary gamer YouTuber, he commented on it and said, streaming is by far one of the easiest, most privileged jobs anyone can have. If you're successful, the rewards outweigh the negatives compared to any service job, cybersecurity, or nursing, and you'll find something actually exhausting. So, what is your opinion as somebody that doesn't actually do it for like a living?
I think it's work. And I just look at it from the mental side of it.
Okay.
There's a lot that goes into it. So at your job, let's say you have a normal job. I'm just going to break this down into a different.
I'm interested to see chat's response to this as well. So make sure you guys are chiming in as well, because I'm interested to hear people's takes on this.
I'm gonna have to break it down in a couple different things. At your job, like a normal 9 to 5, we'll just call it a job like that. When people don't like you, generally they don't fucking come up and tell you that you suck. They don't generally just be like, hey, you fucking suck. You know what I mean? They just don't.
They don't. You mean they don't leave 10 comment long 1,400 word hate threads about you on your YouTube channel?
No, they don't walk up to you and wish you that you would die. Or
yeah, that's true.
You know,
or that Asmongold would play your favorite game.
Yeah. It's just like it's different. And in today's society, I think mental health is finally starting to hit the forefront of some stuff,
especially when it comes to working.
Yeah, and so social media in general, which with your content creator, you're kind of involved with almost all of it, right?
Yeah,
and so it's super, like, don't get me wrong, it's easy to not read the stuff, you know what I mean, not read all the comments and whatever, but it's still, I think that's a bad, that's one of the bad things about your particular profession that you're doing right now, right?
Yeah.
Because like people are just, they're off tilted, man. People are not, they're some of them are just sick in the head.
Yeah. So like the reason that I brought this up is because like I've heard a lot of people talk about it, but I think the problem is that it's like just a lack of transparency and understanding on both ends, where like it's very easy to understand somebody in a service job because everybody has done a service job. Just about everybody at least once has probably worked in service at one point in time, right? We've all either worked in a restaurant or we're a cashier. That's like the first job that most people get, historically speaking. That's one of the first things that you get into.
Are you just talking directly working with customers?
No, just in general, just what we would consider like normal jobs, like normal everyday jobs.
Because the way I look at it, every job is a service job. So.
In some way, shape, or form. But one of the things is that this is just my perspective as somebody that's worked 7-8 years in construction, traveling across the country, working in heavy industrial, working like the heavy industrial side of the country, so far as like oil and gas, power, things like that. And then all of a sudden, the very start of this year, I said, screw it, I'm gonna try going full time on YouTube and streaming and stuff like that. One of the most, so it's definitely less stressful because you're doing something that you're enjoying. So sometimes you feel like a fraud because like, I can't believe this is real. I can't believe I'm actually like, doing this or meeting this person or something like that. Like you have that kind of weird feeling because you're used to working a normal job where, your value is weighted proportional to like how much you get paid and what your job tasks are, and you have people that you answer to and all those kind of things.
Basically.
Exactly. So the thing is that like when you're loving something that you're doing, it genuinely, and I always thought this was a joke when people said it, you don't feel like you're working. Like I thought that the other day and I'm like, dude, I just spent 6 hours playing last Epoch. But at the exact same time, I took, I don't even know, probably like 3 pages of notes where I wouldn't have normally done that. And most people think, oh, you're just playing games. Well, no, you're not just playing games. Your camera froze. There it goes. It's better now. Your internet's getting choppy. So while it's a, you're not playing games the same way that you used to. So while people will probably look at it and say something like, oh, well, you just play games all the time. Well, like, I mean, kind of, but you also have to do a lot of writing, a lot of research, a lot of, a lot of other things that are on the side that a lot of other people don't really think about. But beyond that, the other thing is that I learned of the different stressor that I didn't realize existed, which is working for yourself.
Yeah. You have to be disciplined to do that.
The amount of discipline that's required for you to try to work for yourself, regardless of how other people view it as easy or not. I mean, what I do is a little bit unique, right? Because one of the things that I do is I write, right? I write essays. So it's not like I'm not a streamer, so I can't really understand where they're really coming from. Like I stream, but I'm kind of different in the way that I do a lot of those things. But with that said, there is a whole level of stress when you're working for yourself because you're holding yourself responsible. But beyond that, the other thing that like really kind of weighs in on me at the very least is that any moment it can just disappear in a second. Like I could very easily tomorrow become, old news.
Yeah, 100%. You also have like with a normal job, you have the ability to like when you're not feeling it that day, you're not feeling it that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you phone it in. You can just sit at your desk, play video games, look at your phone, do TikTok. You don't have that opportunity.
Yeah. So Mark is living on a reservation that has the worst internet in the world, and he can't do anything about it.
Yeah. So we're trying to get a different ISP in the neighborhood right now. So
yeah, you're going through like a hard spike right now. Honestly, this is probably the worst that I've seen it in a long time.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
So yeah, it's one of those things where I think in a lot of cases, especially when I'm looking at like some of the conversations online right now, many of the conversations are kind of surrounding specific personalities. So they're looking at those one or two people and going like, well, of course I can't, empathize with that person because they're uber rich, uber privileged, et cetera, which I mean, I think I can kind of understand because many times those people can be a little bit disconnected.
Yeah,
with their takes. And I think that I think it's important for you to try to keep a balanced perspective regardless of, what industry somebody works in.
Yeah. True. Like it's so weird when people think, and let's say a YouTuber makes it and start making a lot of money, that can come from the background. You know what I mean? It's like they've always had that money, just because like a lot of people do that with Asmon, for instance. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's got millions and millions and millions of dollars. But the dude still drives a POS car. You know what I mean? He lives in a normal average house.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not like he keeps himself grounded for the most part.
Is there something else that's like interrupting you right now, like a download or something like that? Because like this is like really bad.
Is my bad?
Like your audio's bad, your visuals, like everything. Like you're not moving your cameras.
Go full screen a little bit. I'm gonna reset my router and jump back.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. We can do that. All right. So welcome back to the Just Ian podcast. This was totally planned the entire time. Sometimes we got to do some stuff on the fly, guys. This is just the way that it goes. We get lots of Mark stills. Yeah, you get plenty of Mark stills. Yeah, sometimes you got to change things on it is what it is. Yeah. The funny thing is that earlier when we were when him and I were just kind of talking over video chat, we didn't have any problems at all. So yeah, it just like all of a sudden we just started streaming and then all of the problems started, which those wouldn't affect him because that's all coming from my internet. But I got that fiber, so I get to do as much as I want, whatever I want. But yeah, no, just my overall thoughts on that whole entire thing is that I think it just kind of comes down to the fact that I think for the most part, I don't know, everybody has a hard job. I think my issue is that when people want to complain about how hard their job is, like, let's be real. Nobody's going to have any sympathy for you. Like, regardless of what, like, this is like kind of pretending that we feel bad for the construction workers. We feel bad for the guys on the fishing boats. We feel bad for, the people working at the cat. We don't give a shit about anybody else. Let's be real. I think for me, more than anything, it doesn't even like matter what job somebody works. It's just when people are looking for sympathy or pity for the work that they do in general. I think that's what I think that's the one thing that I'm like, I just wouldn't bother because realistically nobody actually cares. I think being a streamer or YouTuber with moderate success is a much better option compared to what I currently do, but at the same time, I don't think that I could do it. I think that's the other thing too. I think that in a lot of cases, people look at it from a very from a very simple mindset. They're not simple. I don't want to say it like that. Not like they're like too dumb to understand it. But I think that we look at these kind of things and we just kind of place our assumptions on it and say, you know what? Look at how easy their job is. Look how easy, like, but I mean, think about how difficult it is to remain relevant on the internet. It's hard. It's hard. And it's a gamble in general. Like, there's so many different ways that make it difficult as well. So it's like I mean, we can say it's preferable if it's something that you enjoy doing. And I think more times than not, especially when I was reading like some other comments that people had said about the subject, where a lot of people were upset with the jobs that they had and didn't like the work that they were doing, and then would turn that towards, oh, well, look how easy you have it, because they want to do what you're doing, because they like that, the idea of that more than what they themselves are doing. However, I think that if people are in positions in which they are actually enjoying the work that they're doing, they're far less likely to be trying to turn that in anybody else's direction. Grass is always greener. Exactly, Wicked. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's kind of true across the board. You see that just about anywhere, to be honest. You see that just about anywhere, to be honest. I think we even kind of saw that kind of same thing when it came to if I had to translate this in another way, you could look at the way that people treat MMOs like World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV, where they do the grass is greener on the other side thing until they go on to the other side. And, you know, instead of being like, well, why don't we have this like Final Fantasy, or why don't we have this like World of Warcraft? You know, and then they go over to that other side, then they realize the things that they don't have. Yeah. So it just kind of goes back and forth. People assume they don't work when they don't see them. They only see the success and not the blood, sweat, and tears. Yeah, and the thing is that when it comes to working for yourself specifically, like, you know, I'm not going to pretend like there aren't some streamers and YouTubers that are privileged, that got everything that they needed and were really lucky in getting those things that they needed and were getting into it at the exact right time, and all, like, you know, a bunch of different things collided for their success. However, like, maintaining success as well as keeping yourself working and keeping yourself on it, staying relevant, continuing to make content that means a lot to people, or is valued by people enough for them to continue to watch you, it's hard, dude. It's hard. And I think in a lot of cases, it really just comes down to the person, because I think like people are going to look at a specific person and be like, because I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't like Hassan. I've never really liked watching the guy. I don't really find his content all that interesting. I know people do, but for me, he's just not somebody that's ever really clicked with me. So even then, I'm going to be less likely to want to listen to, you know, his woes specifically. But with that said, I have the internal balance necessary to realize that there's two sides to that argument, right? Streaming for hours can be exhausting, but so is a regular job. Everything's exhausting. Life is exhausting. Yeah, so I mean, like, you can have your personal opinions about people, and I think for the most part, a lot of people kind of inject those personal opinions into objective truths instead, and kind of replace everything, you know, using their I guess like their internal moral compass or something like that. I don't know. That's just the best way to say it. They go, you know, take for as an example, if there was a doctor that I hated and they were super mega rich, and you know, people are going to be like, oh, super mega rich doctor probably doesn't even have to work, probably had their parents pay for their college, probably did this and this, even if that person you know, put themselves through college, or, you know, did all these things necessary to get to that point. If that person is somebody that they don't like, they're going to attach a bunch of different things to that person to make them, you know, less likable. But more than anything, they want to do whatever they can to remove any credibility that person has. And I think we do that. I do it all the time. If there's somebody that I don't like, I will personally think of ways to remove their credibility, regardless of whether or not they're saying something that's truthful or not. And we just do that. I think it's a natural thing more than anything else. He probably laughs about it when the camera's off. I mean, I have no idea. metagaming content creation. It does kind of feel like that sometimes. Yeah, it does kind of feel like that sometimes. Let's see. So what all have you guys been playing lately? Have you guys been playing Last Epoch? Or have you guys been playing Helldivers? It's been hard. It's actually not been hard. It's not been difficult for me to bounce between these two games because I now have something that I can play single player, just jamming and enjoying myself. Meanwhile, at the exact same time, I can, you know, my buddies hop on and I can just jump right into Helldivers. It's so great. I like have these two things to bounce between, and it's just been absolutely fantastic. Last Epoch just hit 70. I think I just hit 71 or 72 on Last Epoch before I got online. Final Fantasy VII Remake, trying to catch up, huh? Hell yeah. I actually just finished Final Fantasy VII Remake again, I think about a month or so ago. Or maybe 2 months ago or something like that, because I was trying to go on this like tirade of trying to complete as many games as I possibly could. And yeah, I've been knocking out the backlog myself, no beats. Guess what I've been playing? Wicked Witch. There's only one game you will ever play for the rest of your life, and that's Baldur's Gate 3. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. I'm playing Last Epoch right now. Hell yeah. I had a bunch of different comments of people chiming in, asking me about Last Epoch, and I'm like, you know, like I'm gonna cover it. I just need time. And when it comes to a game like Last Epoch, I have a lot of experience with the game. I've played it while it's been in early access for a long time. So I'm just kind of trying to figure out what's going on there. And I'm trying to figure out what's going on with all of the different things that have changed since the game has been in early access. And I want to cover those things. But I want to do it in a way that genuinely brings some value to the person that's going to watch the video beyond just a... So I don't know if you guys tell me whether or not you get this from me. When I try to make videos, one of the things that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to communicate how it feels to play a game from my perspective, rather than it just being graphics are an A, mechanics are a B, etc., going down the line. For me, I would rather try to do my best to communicate what my experience was like actually playing a game. The things that I felt playing it, the things that interested me the most or caught my attention, the things that made me not want to play the game, or the things that made me walk away from the game or take a break or whatever it is, and try to bounce around those different things. Because I feel like, for me at least, when I listen to or watch game reviews, one of the things that always throws me off is that it's almost like people don't want to inject enough of their own opinion or experience into playing the game and want to try to stay in like objectivity more, even though you're playing something that's subjective in nature. It comes across for me, you're the only person that talks about the games that I actively watch because you bring enjoyment with your reviews and critiques. Appreciate that. I would rather play a 5 out of 10 game than a bad 9 out of a fun 5 out of 10 than a bad 9 out of 10. But see, the funny thing is, like, I think you have a really hard time finding a fun what's a fun 5 out of 10. I feel like nowadays a game is going to get rated relatively well if it's fun. And I think more times than not, many games just fall out because of the fun factor. Like, without the fun factor, they just get screwed. Like, they're just not good. I think a really good example of this is, I don't know if you guys recently seen this. I'll pull this up really quick. I think I retweeted it, to be honest. Let me check. I'm getting better at Twitter. I just go around and insult people. Is that how it works? Am I doing it right? I saw somebody tweeted something, and I said, "You're ugly." And then I got a bunch of followers. I'm kidding. I don't actually do that. I'm not that kind of person. I could be, though. Should I? Yes. Yes. That's how you win. Guys, is this winning? Is this what winning looks like? I'm just gonna flash it on the screen. I don't have my other screens where I can put myself on the camera, but I'm just gonna pop this up so that you guys can see it, and then I'll talk about it for a second. So I saw this here. which is that Warner Brothers says that Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League has fallen short of expectations via Warner Brothers Discovery quarter 4 2023 earnings. So this is one of those things where it's like, duh. You wouldn't say, really? That happened? How shocking. What? How shocking. Who could have seen that coming? I remember all the comments that I got from people when I made that Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League is dead on arrival. Shocked Pikachu. Yeah. And I had a bunch of people that are like, dead on arrival. The game isn't even out yet. How can you even say that? And it's like, because it's pretty easy to be able to just watch a couple gameplay trailers and know whether or not a game's going to be fun. I think that for the most part, if you're seeing genuine gameplay, even like these companies do their best to try to portray the gameplay in a way that makes it as digestible but intriguing as possible, because they try to make the gameplay trailer look incredible, right? Absolutely insane. And then you go to play the game's nothing like the trailer. We see this all the fucking time. Even games that are great still look even better in their trailers, which I think is a pretty dangerous road to walk. But if your game looks boring in a trailer, well, that tells me a lot about your game. That tells me a lot about your game. Far more than you probably think, that's for sure. I would always say it's bad for the devs who spend several years of their lives working on a game that everyone hates. And you know what the thing is like, it's not their fault. It's not their fault. Those developers that are thrown into that kind of situation where they make a game that, this is the problem. This isn't a game made, this is a game that was made by developers. Not a game that was, wait, how do I want to word this? This was something that was worked on rather than worked for. Or we could say it the other way around. This was them working for Warner Brothers rather than working with Warner Brothers on something they wanted to make. And we see this stuff all the time. We see it all the time, man. Sweet baby, massive red flag. It has nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with it. Live service red flag, nothing to do with it. We could say the same thing about Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 has a battle pass. It has in-game monetization. It has a cash shop. It has it's only live service, only online, and people are loving it. At the end of the day, regardless of how cringe the story is, regardless if it has microtransactions or live service, if the game is good, the people will play. Simple as that. Bad game, bad game. That's all. That's all. A really good example of this is that a lot of people could throw those exact same judgments towards a game like Destiny 2, which, by the way, has definitely fallen off and has continued to just jump off a ravine for years now. But with that said, people still play it because the core game is still enjoyable for the people that play it. Right? So it has nothing to do with, you know, Sweet Baby Inc. or live service or anything like that. And I'm not of the mind, like, I do think that there is a general level of exhaustion from players that want stories that want games that have real stories, not like real life stories, but you mean like things that are not artificially made to try to make characters, you know, check a bunch of boxes for diversity and stuff like that. I want real characters. You can make diverse characters, a diverse cast that represents, you know, any person under the sun. But if you don't write them as interesting characters in context of the game, then the story's gonna suck. Same thing goes for live services. If you're not making a live service that actually works in the context of it being a good live service game, something that's fun for the players to play, something that's interesting or rewards us for actually playing the game, then we're not going to be interested in playing it. I think a really good example of this is a game like Diablo 4. If you look at Diablo 4, their battle pass is completely disconnected from the game entirely. Why would anybody want to play? Why would you want to play that game seasonally? It doesn't even make any sense. The game's almost more fun if you play it non-seasonally and just go and play the Eternal Realm or something like that. Because I want to progress a shitty battle pass that has nothing to do with the game, that doesn't even really track my achievements in the game and reward me for the things that I do in the game. All it does is just collect experience and then unlock it that way. Diablo 4 does not respect the players. Exactly. That's the main point. I brought this up in a recent video where I was talking about how I had watched Darth Microtransactions, and he brought up how cool of an idea it would be if the horse cosmetic, the $70 horse cosmetic that they put into Diablo 4, was actually a reward for you competing in the gauntlet or in the leaderboards. But the thing is that like that kind of thinking is just not on the level of what these companies are looking at. The issue is that they're so busy and so concerned with just bolting on live service without actually any thought to how it's going to play into the game, how enjoyable it's going to be, that they just ignore it entirely. And they just say, well, no, we're just trying to put some money on this. We just want to make money. That's all they care about. They just want to make money. And they don't think about it any further than that. Now, you look at a game like Helldivers 2, and I think one of the things that's really interesting about it is that I've seen multiple articles at this point that have popped up that have literally said, I have never felt less pressured to buy something from a game's in-game store than in Helldivers 2. And I fully, wholeheartedly agree with that. Wholeheartedly agree with that. Helldivers 2 has probably some of the best monetization. It reminds me of like old school monetization, where when these companies were still trying to do it and remain ethical, but realize that they still need to turn a profit and try to make as much money as possible because that's what businesses exist to do. They exist to make as much money as they can. And when it comes to Helldivers 2, you honestly could play the game, and if you just never even went over to the tab that shows that you can buy buy cash currency, you wouldn't even notice it. You wouldn't even notice it. You would just play the game, earn the currency because you're just finding it on the maps. You're getting it in the standard battle pass thing that the standard war bond that you get at the very beginning of the game. And you would just earn it through that. I already have enough for the premium war bond, and I think I'm like level 23 or 24, something like that. Nautical Fury, thank you for the sub over on Twitch. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. So, when I'm looking at, Helldivers 2 and how they monetize their game, they do it in a way that makes sense. They reward the players. Holy shit, guys. They reward the players for playing their game. Who would have fucking thought that would work? Oh my God. Whoa. Foreign idea. That my actions in a game actually reflect my progression and the rewards that I get from playing that game. Who'd have thunk it? Who would have thunk it? Who would have came up with that idea? Man, whoever that is, they need a damn raise because they just came up with the most original idea that I've ever heard in video games ever. You were crazy. I am crazy. Do you think that Helldivers 2 do you think Helldivers 2 will have legs? That's a really interesting question. And it's one that I think I'm probably going to answer over a video or a series of videos. But if I had to kind of... Okay. I think that the current level of player expectations for Helldivers 2 are far beyond what Helldivers 2 is capable of doing at this moment. I think that Helldivers 2 can be a massive success. I think that it can absolutely compete in the live service realm with many of the other larger competitors that are out there. It's not going to be bigger than Call of Duty. It's not going to be bigger than, some of the sports live service games or anything like that, because those just appeal to far too wide of a market. This game, because it doesn't really have there's no real good single player emphasis, and without giving players that kind of path to go for single player. And by the way, like, I'm even including Call of Duty when I say single player, because you can still do like solos and stuff like that in Warzone and whatnot. And while you can matchmake in Helldivers, there is something just a little bit different, than having that single player style progression. But I think it widely depends on how fast they expand the game, depends on how quickly it's going to be able, or how many people they're going to be able to retain. I think that regardless, I think players are going to have a soft spot. They're going to look fondly on Helldivers 2, and they will come back to it when it refreshes with more content. But there's no real progression systems in Helldivers 2. I mean, right now, the problem is that, I brought this up in one of my videos where I said that I think players universally are kind of conditioned to play these live service games in a way that is absolute maximum efficiency. Unlock everything as quickly as possible, get the meta guns, the meta weapons, the meta gear, and then farm the end game, but there really is no end game because the whole loop is that we're just trying to push back a never-ending war, right? So narratively, the meta and the end game loop or progression doesn't really fit, together with that, because this is a collective narrative that's shared between all players that are participating in this galactic war. Here's the thing. When I'm talking about our expectations and how I think that player expectations are outside of where Helldivers 2 is realistically going to sit, I think Helldivers 2 has legs, far longer legs than most people probably believe, but it doesn't have the legs to meet where many wider market, general market, casual player expectations are sitting. And what I mean by that is that they're expecting far more content out of a company that's not used to pumping out that much content, nor has the ability to pump out that much content very quickly. Now, what I mean by that is that I've seen tweets and I've followed the CEO of the company and seen a lot of the different things that he's been talking about. They're planning on having things like weapon customization. There's going to be subsonic ammo, different ammo types that you're going to be able to pick. There's going to be more stratagems in the future. They're going to add mechs. They're going to add vehicles. They're going to add more monsters, more different things for us to fight. There's a whole different faction of enemies that we're going to be able to attack. We're going to be able to fight at one point in time, but it's going to take a while for us to be able to get to that point. So I have a feeling that for the most part, that our expectations for what a live service is are based off of existing popular live service games that are out today. Those being, Destiny 2, Fortnite, Warzone, Apex Legends, things like that. However, the thing is that not all of that is congruent with the live service future for a game like Helldivers 2.
This internet thing, bro.
Yeah, it's still bad.
Yeah, like it went out. So I don't know what you want to do, man. I can just back out and let you finish.
I
yourself.
don't know.
Like I hate to do this to our audience, man.
Yeah, it sucks to have us both like this. Do you want to try it with just voice and see if just voice works fine?
I can.
Just like,
yeah, I want your picture. Yeah.
Is that better? Okay, well at least so we need something to put here for Mark, okay?
No, stop. No.
Man, I need an image for Mark. I don't know. I don't know what to put. Let me think here. Okay. So, I mean, have you been following the conversation at all?
No, I've been on the phone with the internet people.
Oh, you called your internet service provider. How did that go?
No, it went out. Like it was out. So the guy was like, yeah, it should be doing this. I was like, yeah, it's not. He's like, okay, is it flashing this color? No. All right. Well, my system's still trying to talk to it. Let me just give it a couple minutes and we'll see. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Damn. Well, are they going to give you any money back, dude? Because I feel like it's kind of crazy that you're paying this much money.
Company. No, they're not going to give you any money back.
But you're not getting the service that you're paying for.
They don't give a shit. That's why, like I said, AT&T is running fiber through the neighborhood right now, and as soon as they get all that done, I'm switching over. So, yeah, it's just a bad deal. I did tell you that someone also like drove into the main junction box, right, and ran it over with their car.
Oh yeah, I mean that's probably going to help you quite a lot, right?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I'm just gonna get. I know what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna get. I'm gonna get a generic stock image of a gaming dad.
That's just wrong.
None of these are good. They're all showing them like playing games with their kids.
Yeah, I don't do that.
No. I can't find anything worthwhile. Not on the fly like this. I can't find anything worthwhile on the fly like this. So basically, one of the questions that was brought up was they were talking about how, like, whether or not they think that we can just go ahead and start talking about Helldivers, because I think Helldivers has been on a tear, right? The game has popped off in popularity. It's done very, very well. With that said, it's been getting its fair share of criticisms for its live service.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Go ahead. Honestly, as it should. I mean, it is a live service game. It should get criticized for its live service part of it.
What do you think? What do you think is the future of this game? Do you think that this game is going to do you think it has legs? Do you think it doesn't? Like that was the conversation that we were having while you were dealing with your problems.
It has potential to have legs. Right? And like this is kind of like a cop out type answer. There it is. There's my little niblet.
Yeah. That way people can at least see you get highlighted, so they know when you're talking.
Yeah, right.
There we go. That's what you guys get from Mark for today.
Which is not terrible.
It is. You know how hard we judge people that just use Discord icons in fucking live chat.
Yeah. Well, I'm not afraid to show my huge forehead. Did you see that TikTok that I sent you about like how large foreheads back in the like 1800s was like a sign of being like dignified and refined?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that means like the more hair you lose,
back.
Yeah, the more hair that you lose, the better that the more dignified we think you are.
Women were shaving their head further back to have a larger forehead to look more dignified. So I'm just saying that I'm just bringing it back. Like bell bottoms are coming back. I'm just bringing it back.
Yeah.
Just saying. Okay. Anyway, no. So the cop out answer is obviously just depends on what, the developers do with it. Depends on if they keep up with it. But that's the truth. The truth of it is like this game has the potential for it to keep legs, right? I kind of see, and I'm not saying the same type of content, but like where Warframe has gone from and to where it's at now, I think this game could do that same type of evolution into what it's doing, depending on how well it's supported. So
yeah. So I think that so one of the things that I was talking about is that like I think that the game has long legs. I think that it's going to do well. I think that you're going to see, and here's the thing, with any game that comes out, any good game that comes out gets massive waves of popularity at the very beginning, and then that dies off. And it doesn't wash away what the game was in the moment that the fires are burning the hottest. Yeah. I know that's a crazy take, right? That's a crazy take. Am I supposed to but I mean here's the thing is if I had an absolute blast playing Pal World, and then a month later nobody's playing Pal World anymore, but I loved it when I played it, does all of a sudden that the fact that nobody's playing it today mean that I didn't have a good time playing it before? Do I immediately go, you know what? Actually, that game was shit. I didn't actually like it at the time because nobody else likes it right now, and I need to be a part of everybody else right now.
No, like I'm so sick of the I'm so sick of the dead game.
Yeah,
deal. It's a dead game.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Super Mario Brothers is a dead game, but you know what? People love it. People play it. Even the old one. You know what I mean? Like it's like just because there's not 800 million people playing it on how we talked about this. How the hell did Steam become the battleground for console people? How did that happen?
I don't really know about that too much, to be honest with you.
Well, I'm just saying, like they're so worried about their game's concurrent player on Steam.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
I understand
that
you can use it as a metric for how well it's doing on Steam.
Yeah, I've noticed that, actually. Now that you're talking about that, I actually completely forgot that I have actually seen a lot of PlayStation and Xbox players talking about concurrent player numbers on Steam about their games, even though they they also
they're exclusive games.
You know what? It's actually funny how you like all of a sudden they want to claim us now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we were the stuck up snobby guys. But now
they want to claim us, guys. How about that? Robert Field with the $20 super chat says, I'm a new subscriber and I'm really enjoying your stuff so far. Keep up the great work. Do you recommend being a part of online communities for HD or for Helldivers 2, like Reddit and the Discord, to get the most out of it? So, you know what? This is one of the really unique things that I think happens with games, especially ones that are like on Steam or on PC, is that there are a lot of communities for you to get to be a part of. I think that for sure you're going to find a lot of people to be able to play with if you go into the Helldivers 2 Reddit. I feel like you're for sure less so on the Reddit, more so on the Discord.
Yes,
but more than anything, if I had to make an absolutely beautiful, and this is probably the best piece of advice I could give anybody ever. If you find content creators that you like, chances are you like that content creator because you guys have similar opinions, right? You fall in line with certain things that they believe, which likely means that the other people that are watching them, they're going to be far more likely to have more in common with you than not. So if you find content creators that you like, and this is me selflessly plugging my own Discord, you're welcome to join those Discords and find people that way because you're already going to have more in common than the game. The problem is that if you go, and this is what I've learned at the very least, if I go into a games Discord, while we all love X game, that's great. But now if I go into a content creators Discord that I always liked, well, then now we have the game in common and the content creator, which means that we probably think about the same things the same way or like a lot more than just that one game. So it's like trying to find areas for you to find friends and people to play with and trying to kind of narrow that down into as many things as you guys can have in common as possible is going to make it, the easiest for you to be able to make friends and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, you have to look at it pretend you were dating. You're going to use multiple apps, Tinder, Match, whatever, to try to see whatever, but you're going to end up sticking to one of the apps that you're getting the most results out of. So
yeah. Slinger over on Twitch brings up an incredible point. I didn't mean to overlook this, but they said Steam's the only place that gives that metric.
Yeah, it is. Steam is the only place that allows I say that, take that back. It's not the only place that allows it, but it's a place where people actually go and look at reviews. And user reviews are taken a little bit more seriously because of the requirements you have to make to be able to make a review. So
yeah. So
like your stuff's out there. You can't be like a media critic and only play 4 hours of the game and be like, all right, the end game of this is terrible. You know what I mean? So you actually have to play the game, and the community can see how many hours you have in the game. So.
Yeah. So, Steam, one of the things that I really like about Steam is the fact that you can separate reviews based on, just the culture of Steam in general for like reviewing and how you purchase games is probably the best place to be able to pick it up because you can see what reviews are recent and you can see what overall reviews are. So you can tell if people are leaving bad reviews today because there's something that happened in the game or something like that. But then you can also at the exact same time look and say, overall, this game has always been overwhelmingly positive, but, you know, just recently it's mixed. So why is it mixed? And then you can kind of dive into the individual reviews and see what's going on. I think that, like, one of the things that I say when I look at a game like Helldivers 2, one of the things that probably irritates me the most is the people that bought the game for like 30 seconds or 30 minutes or something, and then dropped a review saying game has kernel level anti-cheat. And it's like, you knew that before you bought it, because if you were passionate about that kind of thing, you already knew the game had it. You already knew the game had it. Tell me I'm wrong. I'd love to hear somebody tell me I'm wrong. If you're somebody that's super passionate about kernel level anti-cheat and things like that, you would have known that far before you purchased that game, because you would have looked for that kind of thing. Because the people that are really passionate about that kind of thing look for that shit, because they're the only people that talk about it. I've seen a ton of comments on my last couple of YouTube videos. Why aren't you talking about the kernel level anti-cheat? Why aren't you talking about the kernel level anti-cheat? I'm going to tell you why. Because I don't give a shit. That's why.
Because don't cheat. That's why.
No, it has nothing to do with don't cheat.
Kidding. I know.
It's that, dude, I walk around with a fucking cell phone in my pocket that tells exactly the time and geolocation of every fart I've ever made in my life, so that some company can send, you know, ads to me for laxatives or something. Like, why would I give a shit if they have kernel level access to my computer? Yeah. Why would I care? Why would I care? I just don't want cheaters. So, okay, sure, do whatever you feel like you need is necessary to do so. That's what my opinion is on it. It's just something that I'm not passionate about. I don't talk about things that I'm not passionate about. Why would I start complaining on the side of other people if I don't really give if I don't give a shit?
While we're talking about Steam and Helldivers, me and you kind of got into a conversation a little bit about, because it was one of your videos. And this has to do with going back and changing a review based on whatever changes were made at release, right? And you went further back to, like, you know, further, you know, more patches or whatnot. Like, let's say for Baldur's Gate, like they just had a patch come out and it kind of added a lot of glitches, and so now they're having to fix it. So should they? I mean, obviously, I don't think anybody should go back and change their review of the game, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to a game like Helldivers and a game like Last Epoch, at launch, being in, you know, like Last Epoch is a little bit different because it has an offline mode as well. So like, I get that. But like, yeah, you should be rated upon how well your live service game or your online part of that game is taken. I just do. I mean, not so much as in the stance of Last Epoch as much as it does for Helldivers. Helldivers is a game that is based online. There is no single player. It's just that's the experience.
So here's the thing. I agree that people should be able to judge the game based on what the current state of the game is. You have the full freedom to do that. You have the full freedom to have that opinion. You absolutely are justified in being upset if a game is not playing the way that it should the day that it's released. Absolutely. Absolutely. You also have the responsibility, not the responsibility, you also have the absolute freedom to not care about the context in which why the game is in a bad place.
Yep, you do. That's
absolutely.
True.
Absolutely. You also have the responsibility as a consumer to understand who you are buying something from before you fucking buy it. No? I'd love for you to argue that. Go for it. I'd love to hear the argument for that. You don't have any... Are you trying to say you don't have any responsibility in knowing who you're buying something from?
No, I didn't say you don't have any responsibility.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying you have responsibility in knowing who you're buying something from. Okay. We have the responsibility. If I'm going to buy something and it turns out to be bootleg because I bought it off of somebody on the fucking street, that's my fault that it's bootleg and not real.
Okay, so when you start the game up and it splashes Sony across the screen, what does that tell you? What does that initially
shit.
No, so automatically you don't think it's a Sony product when you see that. I mean, that's what branding does.
Hey, you know what? Here's the thing. Again, you have the responsibility as the person playing and buying that product to know that context. If you choose not to and just assume because the first thing you saw splashed was Sony, and then after that, a company's name that you've never heard of in your entire fucking life, and you don't think about that for a second, I'm sorry that you're just not making informed purchases.
Well, I'm here like I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm doing is I'm playing the advocate side of it. So, brand recognition. Hold on, my dog is killing me. All right, come on.
You have the reality. If you're unhappy with the product, just return it. Yeah, exactly. Simple. And here's the thing. I'm not saying people don't have the right or anything like that, or are not justified in having a negative opinion about the game or anything like that. However, at the exact same time, I still think that we have some responsibility as consumers to know who we're buying things from, why we're buying them, and the quality in which that product is going to be released. While I do think for absolute certain that, yes, there's going to be plenty of people that are going to see that Sony splash screen and they're going to say, oh, well, this is a Sony product. It's going to be perfect, going to run fine day one. That's on them for believing that to begin with. You could show me a gold standard fucking Nintendo release. It doesn't mean shit to me. Fuck, look at the way they release Pokemon.
Well, I'm not talking about like enthusiasts, the hardcore gamer. I'm talking about the casual market as a whole. That's all they're going to see is the brand part of it. You know what I'm saying? It's not.
I know, but here's the thing. I get where you're coming from with that. But is that the company's fault? Like I'm playing both sides of this, right? Because that's what I do. I want to understand from both sides. I easily can see, and this is one of the problems that I think is going to happen. I think that this is going to get so much worse than people even think it's going to. Because something that has just started happening within the last couple years is that consumers are now starting to purchase what we would normally consider games that would fall into niche parts of the market. They are now starting to they're now starting to take the side of indie and independent studios, which do not have the resources, the funding, the support, the anything to be able to come up and keep up with typical large, widespread consumer demand. When you have, as an example, imagine you made an indie game that just so happens to be super fun, awesome, really addictive. It's made for people that really like this kind of game. Maybe it's a looter shooter, and the entire Destiny 2 fan base shows up at your fucking door. And you have a studio of 15 people. What do you do?
No, dude,
the thing is that those consumers are going to go, well, fuck this company. Fuck them. They suck. They put out a shit product. No, they put out what they could. The thing is, the customers aren't necessarily wrong, but they're also going and buying it from a company that doesn't have the resources. They were just putting out a little fun game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. It's like they developed past the scope that they were capable of, basically.
Yeah, and I feel like this is the same thing with a game like Last Epoch, and they're suffering from the same thing. They're an awesome case study for this, because you literally have it to the point now where people are rolling up that they think this is the fucking Diablo killer, which, I mean, it kind of is. But still, you have I think I looked at it today. It was over 250,000 people showed up.
Yeah, I'm
getting
less.
Worse.
See, I'm more forgiving for
suffering from
Helldivers.
Success.
Yeah, I'm more forgiving of Helldivers and Pal World than I am of Last Epoch.
I would love to hear this. Go ahead.
All right. So they quoted that they have already had 1 million sales before the game fully launched. So they knew about how many people were going to be there. Do you understand what I'm saying? They had to expect at least 1 million.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying?
God.
I mean, come on. You can't argue.
No. I'm going to argue it. I'm going to argue it. The game has been in early access for 4 years.
5 years.
5 years. 5 years. You sold 1 million copies over 5 years.
Yep.
So you think that at least 1 million people are going to show up the day of the 1.0 launch over the course of 5 years, when the game when the game is only ever peaked at like 5 or like, I think the game only ever peaked up at like maybe like 10 or 15K, but that was like a year or so ago when they did like the multiplayer launch. And then after that, it went back to like 3,000 to 5,000 players concurrent on early access. And then I'm talking days before the 1.0 launch, all of a sudden you see it spike up to 15 and then to 25. And then on the day of 1.0, it goes 175. Then the next day it goes 270. Like, fuck.
No, see, and here's the thing. I don't want the people in the chat to miss it. I understand it's a smaller group, I understand all that. That's
because last Epoch is probably like 25, 30 people.
Yeah, the thing is like, it's the scope of things. And like, I knew, like, me and you both know, when they first came out with the multiplayer, it wasn't good. It wasn't. Like, we had a hard time syncing. We had a hard, like you'd go through a door to the next section. You'd have to wait for me to come. I mean, it was this whole weird thing.
Yeah.
And so I don't expect this like massive online presence from a small deal. It's just
90
like
people. Oh, okay. So they've grown quite a lot, which is good. Okay. But still, I mean, these are still coming from studios that have less than 100 people. So I think the problem is that even when we look at the number of employees these companies have, how many of those employees are actually suited to do the task that's necessary to get this fixed?
Yeah.
Is it all 100? No, we know that's not the case. It's probably like 5.
And the dudes are like strung out on caffeine and cigarettes right now.
For sure.
Keep it going.
And somebody else brought it up too, and I haven't had the chance to go and look at this, but there are long threads over on the last Epoch, Discord. And on their Discord, they basically dev journal it, and they're like, we did everything we could to prepare for this day. And this is so far above what our expectations were that it blew our mind. And I think that's likely the exact same situation that happened with Helldivers too. These are two games that this is not, and this is the problem, I think. Like, the issue is that, like, I understand consumer concerns. I understand the rights of the consumer, the opinions, they're fully justified. But I'm also trying to look at this from the business side and realize that I think that you and I are even sitting here thinking that, oh, well, how could they have not seen the success? Because we've played it.
Yeah.
We played it. I've been playing Last Epoch for 4 or 5 years or something like that. So I saw its success because I played it. Then I played Diablo 4 when it released and was like, Last Epoch's better than this. So of course I can sit here and say, well, how did they not see the success coming? But from their perspective, they probably didn't. They probably had no fucking idea. And they don't even, I'd guarantee most of these companies don't even have the resources to even properly predict what the popularity of their game is going to be when it releases either. That's another problem for them, is that they don't have, like, a lot of these AAA studios have people in place. And also, you know, sometimes in the case of like a company like Blizzard, 3 decades worth of live service launch experience.
Yeah.
People that have been planning and figuring out that launch stuff, and they fuck it up. Right? Yeah. They fuck it up.
I think where we're going to get to, because I think this is going to be the trend going forward in general, is this AA bangers just keep coming out. So they need to narrow their scope of what they want to accomplish. Like, create something new, something awesome, something fun to play. But like, if you can't get, if I'm not saying that they shouldn't, like, don't launch with multiplayer if it's not ready. You know what I mean? If like, worst case scenario, everyone loves your game, just don't launch with it and try to work it in slower.
Well, I mean, in the case of Last Epoch, multiplayer and everything is working fine. The issue is that they're just overstacked on their servers, and it's not getting better; it's just getting worse. And I think I even saw somebody bring up in the live chat saying that, like, you know, this is something that falls on the publisher. Well, what's the case if you are the publisher? And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing these indie studios that have less than 100 employees that in this case, when it comes to Last Epoch, this is their first game they ever made. This is the first game of the whole studio, right? Like this isn't like, oh, they got all this experience. No, there ain't no goddamn experience here. So, this is their first game, and it's what are you gonna fucking do, man? You're publishing it yourself. You don't exactly know. You probably don't even have the money to even hire the right kind of person that can even schedule this the right way to realize what the potential for success can be. Because you can't afford to have those kind of people on a team. What you need is fucking developers. You don't need people on the business end, not initially, not when you're making your first game. Yeah. And
go
ahead.
Stating if you're going to continue on, you can continue on, because I'm gonna ask you another question. It's going to stay in the same realm. So if you've got anything else you want to finish your thought on.
So the point is, the reason why I even like talking about this subject is that I think something that's going to happen as a result of all of these indie and AA and single A games stealing attention from AAA is that players are going to come to these games with AAA expectations because they do not have the context in which we are having this conversation right now. They are also not the people that take part in watching videos or podcasts like this at all in the first place. They are just people that go, oh, that's the next hot thing. My friends my friends just bought it. Everybody's playing it. And then they go and play it. And what the issue is that they're coming with their expectations and their experiences from playing AAA games. They're going to come over to play some of these single A, indie, et cetera, with those exact same expectations because they're looking at it from the perspective of video game company, not what size video game company, just video game company. And how do we often treat video game companies? What is our normal opinion of a video game company?
They're terrible.
Fuck them. Do what I want and get it done now. I paid money for this. I need to get what I paid for. I'm somebody that preaches that. I do it all the time. But when I'm preaching that, I'm preaching it on the side of AAA studios. I've never preached that on the side of indie or single A or double A because my expectations for them are different because I go into their games with the context of knowing what that experience is going to be like because I have played games in early access. I've played games in their beta. Real betas, by the way. Not these marketing betas like Diablo 4 did. Real betas. And I go into these games with the context of knowing what I'm getting myself into. As these games are stealing more attention from these AAA games, they are going to not have people that are buying those games with that context, and it's going to start fires.
It is.
These companies, by the way, do not have the resources to put out.
No. And that's what I was about to basically bring up. So with all of that being said, and both of us understanding that double A experience, you shouldn't come into it expecting all the bells and whistles to be perfect. You know what I mean? You're more forgiving for glitches and bugs and stuff like that. But right now, it's not. I mean, it's a little hyperbole to sit there and say that the AA market is just blowing up right now, because you look at how many AA games come out every month, and and two of them in the last 2 months have done really well. You know what I mean? So it's not like we've just had two good AA games come out. I think if they continue on this trend, if consumers are going to start looking more at the AA games or just the community in itself because they're just fresh and new, the fresh thing to play, I think that's going to tarnish the AA industry as a whole, because what's going to happen is like you said, expectations are set a lot higher by the consumer than what they can deliver. If that makes sense?
Yeah.
And so what's going to end up happening is people are like, well, fuck that. It's not, that's when you're going to get into the whole, well, I think Xbox should buy them, or I think Sony should buy them, or I think, and I don't want that, because I've
already seen PlayStation people making the comments online of saying, I hope Sony buys them. I hope Sony buys Arrowhead. This wouldn't be a problem if Xbox owned these guys. I've seen it. I've already seen the conversations, because like a lot of these people that are on those sides are making for those kind of solutions, because they think that if the money's coming from them, then there's going to be less chance for issues like this in the future. And that's the last thing that any of us want, because we know what the expectations of those kind of things can be. And I draw a lot of similar conclusions to, I brought this up in the Discord, actually. I brought up another case, right? And a lot of people don't really remember this, but if you look back at like what happened with No Man's Sky, like there was definitely a case of Sony pushing like AAA marketing on a not AAA game, right?
Yeah.
With No Man's Sky, they pushed AAA marketing on a non AAA title from a relatively unproven studio. I mean, they had a couple games that did well, but they weren't like a massive success. But with that said, what ended up coming with that is all of a sudden you have their super awkward, socially awkward, director, studio owner go out into the limelight and start heaving a bunch of lies, probably not purposefully, probably even just talking about things that they hope to put in the game. Not even things that they like, he's like, oh, hopefully we're going to be able to get this in. And I think that's probably what he was thinking to himself when he was saying some of that stuff. Not saying that he didn't make mistakes. He definitely fucked up for sure. For sure. Yeah. And even he has said as much as well. But at the same time, the thing is that, even when we have these games that are published or funded by Xbox or PlayStation, that doesn't necessarily mean that these games are going to come out to the highest, utmost quality, because for the most part, many of these companies are still staying out of their pockets or staying out of their books or staying out of their schedule because they're just helping to fund the game. They're trusting the company to be able to deliver on a project.
Well, I mean, there's other things that they add to a AAA part of what we're talking about right now, the foundation, the infrastructure, server capacity, stuff like that. That's stuff that a huge publisher can help with while they're making the game. But like with Helldivers 2, it's a code issue on the back end, so it's not really like a server issue. Last Epoch, I don't think it is a code issue as much as it is a server issue. So I mean, it's like I just read Cody in the chat say, not if you prepare for faulty releases or early, right? Really well, right? If you prepare for it, which I just said, and everybody in the chat, including Ian, argued with me that you can't prepare for it.
Lush, thank you for the sub over on Twitch. Really appreciate that. Thanks.
So like I do, like, people are saying, well, 1 million sales doesn't mean they're going to show up all day one. Well, if I pre-order a game, I'm going to show up when it comes out, right? And early access is pre-ordering a game.
Yeah, I think the point that I'm trying to make when it comes to, like, because somebody was kind of talking about this when they were saying, like, well, when you buy a game, you expect it to work. In both cases, both Helldivers 2 and Last Epoch are both games that do work. The problem is they're just fucking overloaded. They just got hit with a level of success.
Too many people want to play it.
They got hit with a level of success that these companies were not prepared for. And there's somebody that I even saw, there was a comment before, and this is something that I read on, I think I saw it either on Twitter or on Reddit or something like that, where they were like, well, that's their fault for not even having a queue built into their game from the minute the game released. And it's like, you're right. But that's a mistake that a small company makes.
Yeah.
And you're welcome to be upset about it. You're absolutely justified in being upset about it. But that's the kind of oversight that happens when you have a company that's much smaller, that their last game had a peak concurrent player base of fucking 5,000 players, 4,000 players. I think I pulled it up. It was like 4,700 people had played peak concurrent player base on Steam for Helldivers 1. So yeah, that's the kind of mistake that a company like that makes, because think about this, guys. I got here's a little added context. Think about it from this perspective. Our last game that we put out reached a peak concurrent player base on Steam of, 4,700 players. What we're going to do is we're going to prep for our game, and it's going to have enough server room to hold 450,000 players. We're going to go 1,000 times, or what is over 100 times. I'm not trying to do the math right now.
100.
Yeah, 100 times. We're going to do 100 times the server limit of what our peak was for our first game. That's crazy. That's overshooting what you would imagine your success would be. they did what they think or thought at the time was going to be the right choice. It would have been, but they overshot their success by a long shot. By a long shot. You know what I mean?
I mean, you never like you can make a game and you say like, yeah, I think this is people are gonna like this game, but you don't ever know. Like even Larian didn't know with Baldur's Gate 3 that it was going to be as big as it was.
No, not even close.
You know what I mean? Like
no way.
You don't know what's gonna go viral or not.
Do you think Sven and Co thought that Baldur's Gate 3 would enter into the zeitgeist of players against AAA, saying that this is the hallmark game of the entire console of this current generation of video games for, putting it in the same league as Elden Ring? No, they didn't see that coming.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like I feel bad. Like I said, I'm more concerned that these games that are coming out, these AA games that are ended up being really, really good. I just don't want the casual market to just constantly shit on them to where they can't get the success that they deserve for the the game that they put out. I mean, and then you can also look at it from like an introspective, like, do I care as long as I get to play the game and have fun? You know what I mean? Like, but still, I want that niche of games to still be viable and not just get shit on because they're not the popcorn blockbuster $800 million, $1 billion invested game. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
As a data engineer, no, they made all the right moves not having a queue. Queues take server loads and requires a lot. And you do not want to build features that you do not expect to need. Actually, Robert, thank you for that comment, because that is actually very true. I brought that up in my last video where I said that there's a lot of different things that people don't understand when it comes to servers. And far too often, what is the gamer thing if there's problems with the servers? What do they say that the company needs to do?
More servers.
Buy more servers. That's not what the fix normally is, nor would that even probably fix the issue to begin with. And it definitely isn't the issue when it comes to a game like Helldivers 2, and it usually has something to do with the backend or the code. At least in their area, it has to do with the backend code and things like that. And you have to have server engineers taking care of some of that stuff to even be able to build the game to hold that many people. And one of those things that comes into play is server load. And if you're building in functions that you don't think are going to be necessary, all you're going to be doing is just taking up more resources that otherwise would be able to be there for more players to be able to take part in playing the game, and also would probably take away from stability for the game as well. You're only adding one more thing to go wrong when players are trying to log into the game. Because what if there ends up being a problem with the server queue and the queue system and how it lets people in and out of the game? So there's a lot of nuance to the topic of, how, yeah. And the thing is that I think the other thing Tom actually just said without data, I'm not even without even looking at your other point, this reminds me of the fact that this is also a company that doesn't have the data to be able to back up whether or not they would even need to be able to put those kind of fail safes in place in the first place. And now a lot of people are going to look at this conversation and say, I've already seen it. I've seen 4 or 5 different people comment, and they're like, had watched a lot of my videos, and they're like, I can't believe you're a bootlicker now. Fucking bootlicker over a small indie company, over a small studio in fucking Sweden. Suck it. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. And the thing is that
we're just using Helldivers 2 and Last Epoch as examples of what a trend could be happening. That's it.
Yeah, and the thing is that I think, again, I say it a million times, you are justified in being upset that you bought a product and it didn't work on day one. That is an absolute truth. It's an undefeated truth because you purchased it, you paid money, you should get what you paid for. But you also paid for a game made by a smaller studio. So you are, in fact, getting what you paid for.
Yeah. It's true. It's just like I said, everybody in the chat will probably agree with me. When you buy a $30 or $40 title, you are 10 times more forgiving for bugs and glitches. You just are.
Oh,
versus when
are
you
you
when you
kidding
when
me?
you spend $70 on a AAA title and it's wonky. I
So
mean,
a
you
really good
just
look at Pal World. Look at Pal World. How pissed are people about pathing, or do you just get over it?
yeah, you just get over
You
it.
just get over it. You just fix it.
Yeah.
You put the PAL back in the box and pull the PAL back out.
Yeah.
Oh, the PAL's stuck on top of my roof. I pull them out, put them back in. Simple as that.
Story of my
Dude,
life.
are we
Yeah.
screaming online about it? What is the state of this early access piece of shit? God damn. Ah. Right? We don't do that. Why? Because we have an expectation. And I think the expectations were far more clear with a game like Pal World.
Yeah.
Right? But the expectations aren't as clear, and they're going to get less clear as we go on, because one of the things that's happening now is that these smaller studios are being able to make games that have the fidelity and quality of a AAA game. And it's becoming even more accessible, these tools for making even better looking games.
Bitch.
Unreal Engine is a really good example of that. Obviously, Helldivers 2 wasn't made with Unreal Engine, but just using this as an example, these independent studios and these independent developers have so much more access to assets and to tools that allow them to be able to make even better games than they ever had before, because it used to be limited to just small pixel games and things like that. When you think indie game, a lot of people will just immediately imagine something like Dave the Diver or fucking Vampire Survivors, not Last Epoch. Right?
Yeah.
So, and that's what's happening, is that some of these games are now getting to the point where it's difficult for us to distinguish between what is a AAA product and what is not. And because of that, people are having a hard time placing what their expectations on that product should be.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, a AAA and hell, a quadruple A game. You expect I'm gonna say I expect that everything should work. Matchmaking should work, online should work, co-op should work. That should all be seamless regardless of what happens with the game. I'm not even talking like screen tearing and all that stuff, frame rate, all that stuff should be at a certain level. It just should. When I move down to a double A game, I will accept screen tearing. I'll accept this. I'll accept that because I understand that there's less money spent into that game. I just expect less.
A lot less.
That's why I paid less, is because I expect less. And a lot of this has to do with the gaming communities not being able, or gamers not being able to manage their expectations. They just can't. It happened to me with Starfield. I had super high hopes for Starfield. I love space. I love space exploration, and that game sucks. I'm just gonna say it. The game sucks. If you like space exploration, the game sucks. It just does. And so I set a high expectation from what I was told by Mr. Leathercoat. All right. So I was like, all right, this is gonna be a badass game. And I didn't manage my expectations like I should. I'm a 45-year-old man. I should know better.
You were,
but I didn't.
Mark was excited for Starfield.
I was.
Mark was so excited for Starfield. Me, on the other hand, I still remember the podcast leading up to it. Remember, I'm like, man, I don't know, dude. I'm like, there's something here. I'm watching this stuff. I don't even think you can. I'm like, I think this is all load screens. Remember when I said that when we watched the direct?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think, and you're like, no, you can fly down to the planets. And I'm like, no. I'm pretty sure this is all load screens. I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know,
so
man.
Like, I was pretty upset, pretty let down. And like I said, I don't even blame Bethesda for that. I blame myself for not managing my expectations.
Yeah.
Like, it's a video game. Of course, they're not going to have 1,000 planets that are awesome. Of course, you're not going to be able to fly to them. No. That makes sense. Sense.
Yeah. So anyway, we got carried off. We got carried away on this topic. It's such a good one to talk about. It's. I'm gonna end up talking about this more in detail at one point in time. We'll cross that bridge.
We should keep up with some of these titles as they come out and just kind of track to see how they're doing and just have discussions about it. Because I mean, I don't think this is going to go away anytime soon. I really don't.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. It's just gonna it's gonna confound and get harder and harder and harder for these AA games when it comes out, and people are just gonna start shitting on them
Oh,
automatically.
hardcore. You're gonna see,
So
and the thing is that like, it's not even gonna be the fact that I think one of the biggest problems they're not gonna be able to deal with or put out the fires like on social media or in the articles that are gonna come out as a result of that backlash, right?
Well, did you see that the Helldiver's CEO, the Arrowhead, he was like, "Hey, y'all don't have to buy the game right now. If if you're
Yeah.
strapped for cash, don't worry about it. Just chill."
And while today we have people that will post that on Reddit or make a video about it and say, Giga Chad CEO for now.
Yeah.
Until there's all of a sudden, player backlash that doesn't go that direction. Well, I think that in some cases, the gaming community can be relatively understanding when it comes to this stuff. I think at the same time, I think it's going to go in a direction in which there's going to be a situation where one of these studios are getting backlash that, while deserved, isn't deserved. And, did they fuck up? Yeah, but also what are they actually capable of? So and here's the thing, this is my argument that I have towards the people that are like, oh, well, they need to. Like, whatever it is that they need to fix, well, that should have been done already. So would you rather be a world where they didn't make a game at all?
Yeah, I mean, well,
because that's the solution is that you don't think that company should have made a game at all. Because if you think that they can't meet consumer demand that is so otherworldly compared to what they would normally expect for an indie game release, and you're like, well, then at that point, they shouldn't have made the game because they didn't have the assets or the resources, and then it should only be AAA that's making these games.
Yeah. And like, so like, for instance,
I know that's an extreme place to take it to, but that's where it all falls at one point in time.
Yeah, you're not wrong. The industry's growing and growing and growing, and we need to have these type of games. Like, I don't like waiting, months and months in between game releases. I just don't.
No.
Like I just don't. But for Helldivers 2, if let's just say they had a crystal ball and they could have saw into the future a little bit, and they're like, you know what? Okay, we don't have the money for this. So what we'll do is we'll downscale the scope of having, the online community. They're gonna be able to where they were going to be able to dictate the narrative of controlling the planets and pushing back and all that stuff. We'll cut all that back and just have a co-op, right? We'll just have all the planets there, different scenarios, and then it'll just be co-op. And then there's it's not tracking any of all this other bullshit online. I wouldn't want that. Like, if they knew it would have ran better that way, it's not the scope of what they wanted to do. You know what I mean? Like, the idea of the entire community is working towards a goal is super, super cool and super unique for a game like this.
Yeah.
So yeah. But people just I don't want to. They should have made a game if it's not going to work for everybody. You can probably go fuck yourself a little bit with that.
Yeah, well, so here's the thing too, is that like like a special case if we're looking at a game like Helldivers 2, like the game launched to 80,000 people, pretty solid. I don't think the game really had too many issues on its first day. I know they had some, but it wasn't horrible.
Yeah.
What really started were the days that followed, where where all of a sudden that 80,000
when it went viral.
When it went viral. So. And the thing is that for many of these companies, they can really only go off of their pre-orders or their existing sales, right? If it's an early access, they can go off the existing sales. So, you could definitely make a stronger argument that last Epoch should have did a better job of preparing. But when it comes to Helldivers 2, if you had 80,000 people buy it, 80,000 concurrent players on your launch day on Steam, that's an excellent launch. That's an incredible launch. However, that all of a sudden the next day it doubles. The next day it goes up by another 80,000, another 80,000, up to the point where its 24-hour peak concurrent player count is 458,000 players.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like things just spiral out of control. And I think in the case of Helldivers 2, like they did their best to try to course correct, and they fixed it. It's fixed now. I mean, from what I understand now, you can just log right into the game. People aren't having any problems. But with that said, you know, like, bro, there's some things that are just outside of your vision, outside of your control, and they happen, and you just have to get through them. And yeah.
Like if they get all their problems fixed and the game continues to grow, this is literally going to be a footnote. You gotta remember, gamers are king of like what is that called? Fixing history on stuff. Like a game will be great, like have a rough launch, and then it'll be great at the end. I mean, look at people now with Starfield saying it's a good game. So
yeah. So let's actually talk about Last Epoch, the video game, rather than Last Epoch, the issues.
Oh, okay.
What do you guys say we talk about actually playing games now? This has been a great conversation. This has been a really cool part of the podcast. I really enjoyed this. It was kind of a organic conversation that started from me rambling while you were fixing your internet. But so yeah, let's actually talk about our experiences playing Last Epoch. I still want to talk a little bit more about Helldivers 2 later as well. There's still plenty to talk about there as well too. But let's actually talk about our experience playing this game, The Last Epoch. How have you been enjoying it?
Terrible.
It's absolutely.
I think it's an awful game. They probably should have never came out with this game. So
that's super funny. Like apparently I must have been watching Asmongold at the time when I was recording some of my footage. So like as you were like one of the worst games that I played, all of a sudden you just hear Asmongold say absolutely.
No, the game is okay, let me I'm gonna start with the graphical update. I think it added a lot of pop to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Stepping back, I stopped playing Last Epoch, I believe before I I started playing. I think it was like November, maybe even not. So when playing this game, I mean, I probably said it to you 3 times while we were playing and talking. Like, the amount of different enemy types that they have in this game are amazing. Like, it's amazing. I don't feel like I'm killing the same thing over and over and over again, like I do in other ARPGs. Super nice and fun part of it to have. I think all the effects are super nice. I don't remember the skills synergizing as well in the early access, but I don't know if that changed or not. Like I said, I might have just not been paying attention.
They talked about a bit of a skill revamp in a lot of cases, changing the way that some skills interact with other abilities, trying to make things feel a little bit more, spell weaving and ability weaving. One of the things that they wanted to get away from that games like Diablo 4 and Path of Exile do is you can definitely get down to, one button builds. And they wanted to try to get away from that, where you're using multiple abilities, you're trying to chain things together for certain setups and things like that. And sadly enough, we're both playing the exact same class and subclass, so we don't have a lot of variety to talk about from our experiences. Though I'm much higher level than you are.
I'm about to start a ranger. So
So overall feel of the game has improved vastly since its early access. I mean, incredibly so. I would actually even say performance in a lot of cases is much better than it used to be as well. I haven't ran into very many performance issues while I've been playing. There has been some little drop in frame rate and things like that.
Nothing I get a hitch every so often.
Nothing too wild. I'm getting a little bit more frame rate in the endgame areas I'm farming now as I'm getting larger enemy packs. I know that there's been a lot of complaints that I've seen from players that have been talking about enemy mob density. While I will say certain areas can feel sparse, I think they're doing that on purpose for performance reasons.
No, I would agree with you on that. Like I said, I've noticed that with the animations, sometimes with the larger groups, you'll get some hitching, and it's barely noticeable, but it's noticeable that your screen will just hitch for a second. You know what I mean? Like a quick millisecond.
And if you guys can't tell, yes, I am absolutely completely busted. So yeah,
yes,
make sure.
Yeah. Warlock is super dope. If you haven't played the Warlock, give it a shot.
Which speaking of, I just want to talk to something because I think this is a really important point for people that are either A, playing the game, or B, learning to play the game or thinking about buying it or whatever. Because I do realize that there are some people that come to hear either my opinion or your opinion on a game before they actually make a purchase. Sometimes it ends up being the reason why the game sells. But when I basically make up the reason why Helldivers 2 is doing so great is because of me. I just want to make sure that you guys know that. But so one of the things that I will say that's really cool about my build currently that I'm doing in the game, and it showcases one of the really cool things about this game, is that the ability that you're seeing me rip onto the ground is called Chthonic Fissure. That ability has a chance to proc Chaos Bolts. It'll actually, which is another ability that you have. So I have spec'd into the tree, as you can see on the screen here. I'll actually show you guys. I've spec'd into this tree where my Chthonic Fissure will proc Chaos Bolts, which have the exact same effect that I've already built out in that tree of Chaos Bolts, right? Chaos Bolts has the chance to proc Rip Blood, which I have spec'd into Rip Blood, which has the ability to proc Bone Curse, which I've also spec'd in and fully lifted the entire tree of both Bone Curse and Rip Blood. So it's turned into this like auto turret build where I can cast one ability and it casts 4. It's insane. Yep. And the awesome thing about that is that all of the classes in the game have interactions that are like that, where you can not just build one, like in most games, it's always just about that one ability. That one ability does one thing. Look at Barbarian in looking at Barbarian in Diablo 4. If you're doing if you're just doing a spin to win build, they spin to win. But in this game, if I were to do a Void Knight spin to win, that spin to win could proc hammers, it could proc other things, and you could build off of those other things and create these entirely different meta style builds however you want. And there's so much freedom in this game for you to be able to express yourself as a player and come up with unique builds and not have to follow build guides or anything like that, that makes this game so attractive to play for not only hardcore lovers of ARPGs, but also casual players that just want to try to figure things out on their own and not have a build guide up.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. And it's a way more forgiving when you want to change something.
Yes, because you can just change it.
Yeah, you can just change it.
You can just change it. And like I mean, with the passives, you have to spend gold to like respec your passive tree. I wish there was a refund all button. If there is one, you guys need to tell me, because I must have missed it for the passive tree. I know that you can do refund all in effect with abilities, but obviously you'll have to earn the experience back to fully level that ability up. But that ability gets buffed until it's back to whatever level you had it at.
And depending on like if you're already a high level, killing high level enemies, it actually levels really fast.
Very
it's
fast.
Not like it's not like it takes a long time to do so. The only thing mechanically that I feel that the game is lacking that I wish it would have is a mechanic roll, not a skilled
dodge roll.
A dodge roll would make this game to me like just like top tier.
I think from a feel perspective, a dodge roll would be nice. I don't think it's necessary because every class has a movement ability.
Yeah, I just like I said, I like movement abilities are great. I mean, hell, you've even with that fissure, you can teleport down the fissure line.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, in the skill tree, there's a thing that you can teleport up and down that line. But I don't think my evasion should be tied to a skill because that's going to take up a slot on my bar for something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I just think like just a mechanic dodge, add it, great. We're good. We're golden.
Yeah. I obviously that's kind of like down the line for me. One of the things that I'm the most interested when it comes to this game out of like a lot of the different things that I already love about the game. But I think if I had to tell somebody, you know, what are your general thoughts on Last Epoch? My general thoughts across the board are this is exactly what players have been looking for in a Path of Exile Diablo 4 competitor. It has all of the good things from both. Not all of the good things. It has much of the things that you love from both, but it presents them in a way that's very unique. The game has an identity of its own, and it is modern enough that anybody can be attracted to play it. And it also has a really promising future, because I think one of the things that I find the most endearing about this game is the fact that they have so many built-in solutions, so many quality of life things that solve issues in both Path of Exile and Diablo 4. So this is a game that you can look at, and from the minute you start playing it, realize that they have found solutions to player issues that have plagued us since the, you know, start of ARPGs. These are people that play and love ARPGs and are trying to make an ARPG that they themselves love to play.
Yeah. You know what is super awesome? One, right off the bat, you start picking up, you know, crafting materials, and then you just hit a tab in your stash and it goes to its own stash. You want to start crafting stuff. You don't have to go to town to do that. You can just press the F key and you can craft and do stuff wherever you want to.
Yep.
Like you don't have to go to town and find the anvil to go stand next to and do all.
I like that they still give you like the tactile option to do those things if you want, though, because like some people want to go up to an anvil and click on an anvil for like, you know, RP purposes or whatever. Like there is that feeling that we get from these kind of games, right? That we want that kind of experience. But there's just so many really, really interesting ways that they've gone around, like that there's so many interesting things that they've done, reimagined ways of how to approach an ARPG that you can tell that they've played them all. And one of the things that, like, I mean, I have a whole fucking list of stuff, guys. I mean, a whole list of things that I'm like, I love this, I love this, I love this. You know, I'm going to give you guys a really good example. I'm going to give you guys the best example, actually. Okay? One of the things that I love about Last Epoch, and I think is bar none one of the smartest decisions they made, it is one of the coolest things ever, is say, for example, you're using a rune of removal on a piece of gear because you're trying to min-max that gear to make sure that it has, you know, the affixes and suffixes exactly the way that you want. And say it has dodge rating, but you want physical resistance. And let's say it rolls wrong and that thing fucking takes off the, you know, your damage over time instead. And you're like, well, shit. You still got the shards for it. So even if that item gets screwed, you can still shatter that motherfucker and use it for another item later. So even when you're losing, you're still winning. And that is such a good feeling, because you don't feel like you absolutely just lost your ass on an item that could have been great. You just go, well, at least I got the shards from it. I'll be able to use those on a future piece of gear once I find that better piece of gear. And that just feels so much better than you just absolutely just losing an item. Not that they don't have things that you can do that, because you can still use the ascendancy runes, which are like a gamble rune for you to be able to gamble for uniques.
Yeah,
you could get their unique
I hate
you
that
don't
guy,
want. But
by the way, me and that guy need to go into the arena and fight, because I don't like him.
Who?
The Gamba guy.
Oh no. I'm talking about There's a rune that you get that's called an ascendancy rune.
Oh, okay.
And you can use it in a crafting window. And like, let's say that you just get some random staff, but you're looking for a very specific, like unique staff, right? You can use an ascendancy rune with a bullshit gray staff, and it will turn that gray staff into a unique item. Any out of the entire list of unique items that are staffs. Yeah. But it could be so maybe you get the one you're looking for, maybe you can't, but you know, you can still kind of hold on to it and keep it for another for another one.
I'm gonna answer no beats, even though they did. Yes, I would 100% recommend this for a single player game. I'm playing Matter of fact, I'm playing offline. My character is an offline character, the one I'm making. And I'm enjoying it just as much as Ian's enjoying it, playing an online character. The only difference is once you get to, I can't remember the name of the town, but you'll get to a point in the game. It's a little bit higher level where you have to choose between the trading company and the trading guild, and what's the other guild called?
Oh, the Fortune.
Yeah, Fortune Guild. And obviously, if you're in a offline game, the trading guild is probably not the best one to choose from, right?
Yeah, Circle of Fortune. That's what it is.
So yeah, I would 100% recommend this as a solo player game. It's not like Diablo 4 where it's you have cities full of people. You know what I mean? It's not like an instance where someone's just running by. It's not that kind of online game.
Yeah.
So unless you don't want to play with somebody, you can just make an offline character. So
yeah, I think that one of the things as well that I really like, and somebody kind of brings this up because I said like the solo self-found thingy. You know what's crazy is that like many of these games are kind of designed to soak and sink a shitload of time into, but Last Epoch gives you the option to say, if you want to do Circle of Fortune, we'll give you the added benefit of the longer you play, the faster you win.
Yeah.
Because once you've leveled up all the way through that whole Circle of Fortune thing, which I'm not even close, I think I'm only like halfway through Circle of Fortune. Once you're level, all of a sudden you get it where it's like, if one set piece drops, the whole set drops. You get tons of different opportunities to double the amount or triple or quadruple the amount of drops that you get for certain items and things like that. So like the longer that you're playing, the more and more you're getting showered by loot. And you can even up the ante on that even higher by running yourself going corrupted on the monoliths and things like that. And then you're also being able to do that while target farming specific pieces of gear that you're looking for, because that's what the monolith is. The monolith is a target farm system. And then if you want to go do some RNG stuff, then you can go run the whitelist dungeon. I forgot what it's called. The one where you gotta like put out like use like the amber to start fires and stuff like that. It has like a gamba door at the very end that you use gold to increase your rewards. Last light. Something I can't remember what it's called. I could think Last Light In. It's not Last Light In, but you get what I'm saying. So there's like different ways for you to go about it. One of the things that I've seen a lot of people complain about, and I'm actually really surprised that people actually have this take, is that they say that the game is empty in the end game. There's not enough end game.
Well, here's the thing, and that's called managing expectations. Like people don't understand that. Like is it not enough in-game content to do, or is it because you want so much more from the game? Like you just want to keep playing the game?
No,
you know what I mean?
I think largely what it is it's something that I kind of brought up earlier, where I said we were taking our expectations from one place to the next. And I think that people are trying to make direct comparisons between, say, Diablo 4 or Path of Exile to Last Epoch, which makes sense because you're comparing ARPGs, but you're not comparing those ARPGs in the context of how long those ARPGs have been out. And that, like in the case of Path of Exile has had over a decade of adding more endgame, of adding more variety of things for players to be able to do. I think that at launch, Path of Exile has more to do than fucking Diablo 4 by a long shot. Today it has more.
Yeah, still.
Yeah, today it has more. Are you kidding me? Today it has more. Like, the monolith system is to me, the monolith system or mapping in Path of Exile or nightmare dungeons in Diablo 4 aren't really all that different.
No,
aren't really all that different. I mean, it's the same thing. It's a fucking ARPG. What are you going to do? You are going to go kill stuff and get loot. We can boil it down to the basics if you'd like to. No matter what, that's going to be what you're doing. Outside of that, like, now don't get me wrong. I think that Path of Exile.
That's a t-shirt we need to make. Kill stuff, get loot.
Yeah, we'll see about that. One of the things that, I think Path of Exile has done a really good job at trying to be creative when it comes to endgame stuff. Because I know, like, they even have like a defense base, like auto play thing, auto battler, a bunch of other random stuff as well that they do, and I think that that's really cool. But yeah, I think that they have a solid base, solid structure to get started with. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I know we have Last Epoch players in the chat that are here right now. The current cycle, the event for the current cycle, is it just the added chests, the like the mega chests that you can find, and then the dudes that are locked in crystal? I think that's this season's mechanic, their first season mechanic. Is that what it is? Because I don't remember those guys locked in stone.
I don't remember them either.
It's the factions. That was in early access. No, I don't think the faction system is their seasonal mechanic, because that would make it sound like the factions will go away in the next one.
Yeah, it's not a seasonal mechanic.
I think the factions is just part of the game.
Tom says the mages have always been there.
Tom's a dirty liar.
Yeah, Tom's a dirty old man.
Dirty liar.
Dirty lying old man.
Look at him coming in here flashing his fucking golden legendary sword.
Oh, I'm green. Oh, look at me.
Look at my green name and legendary sword. Always trying to lord
cool.
himself and make himself look cooler than everybody else. Isn't that bullshit? Chat, you guys should point that guy out. Be like, what the fuck is this?
Fucking Tom.
Always acting like he's better than everybody else.
Yeah. Dude, he sent me a private message. He's just like, I'm level 50. I'm like, bro.
I'm level 50. Yeah. Do I need to take a poll in chat? What level do you think?
This was granted, it was 2 days ago.
Wait a minute. Chat. I saw an entire hate thread about me on one of my last videos, where these guys had came up with this idea that I don't play video games.
You don't?
Let's talk about this. They're like,
let's be fair.
This guy, I'm like, I feel I'm a bit too informed to not play video games. They're like, this guy just goes and picks like the top game that people are talking about and starts making videos about it. And I'm like, if you listen to anything that I say, there is so much experience of playing said game. There is literally footage online of me playing this game. Are you trying to say that's doctored? What is this?
Yeah.
I brought it up. The funny thing is, I cracked a joke before. I was like, I'm like, is there a fucking Illuminati in every video, in like every industry now? Or are people like, yeah, there's like a streamer Illuminati. They're just pretending to play and like these games so that they can promote them and then get money from some small Swedish company that makes a fucking video game. It's AI, obviously. Just wait for the day that I can replace myself with AI. I will. So live stream with AI playing, legit. Yeah.
Our next podcast is going to be us as VTubers. So,
hey, do you know what? I mean, not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea.
Oh my God, Brian, are you just wanting to hear us shit on Diablo?
You should compare. You should compare Last Epoch itemization to Diablo 4.
Hey, check this out. Last Epoch resistances work. Weird, huh?
So
Isn't that weird?
I think that one of the things that. So for Last Epoch, one of the things that makes their itemizations shine is the fact that you can actively upgrade any of that equipment and its substats at any time, right?
Yep.
Which I think you can can you do that in Diablo 4?
Nope.
Are you sure?
Positive. You talking about upgrading your weapon?
Your substats, yeah.
You get to pick on a piece of like an item, you get to pick one. You don't get to update all of them.
Well, I mean, you can upgrade the weapon. Remember, you have like 5 levels or something like that. You can upgrade
the weapon, which will upgrade the stats on everything. But then you can only change one thing off of that deal.
Yeah. So like one of the biggest benefits of Last Epoch is that you have basically, I mean, obviously it still kind of comes down to chance, but you can edit any of the substats on anything. You can upgrade individual substats rather than all of the substats all at once. But I mean, that's, you know, different types of stuff. But I think overall, like, the itemization really does make you want to look at every single potential drop that you can get, because the substats are easy to understand because they're ones that are relatively common when it comes to games like this. But more than anything, I think that I really like the ability to directly impact specific skills. Yeah. And then get some and then you also get like added benefit out of those specific skills as well. The only thing that I do kind of wish this game had goes back to Diablo 2, where I could actually get skills from other classes.
Technically you can. So, but within that subset of, so you picked Warlock, right?
Okay. No. You're misunderstanding me. I'm saying I want the ability to cast lightning like the mage.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I get. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I'm talking about. If you guys remember when you played Diablo 2, you could pick up a teleport rune or a teleport ability on a piece of equipment, and you would be able to teleport as a barbarian. I think that shit is sick. You can, but not directly. The Enigma. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Yeah, you can. Am I wrong about this? You can, just not as direct slot ability. So it can proc. So I guess my question is, I'll just use another example. Can I get the ability to get a piece of equipment that'll make it where, you know, my warlock can cast the Void Knight's hammers? There are some uniques that proc other class skills. Okay, all right. Well then, shit. Never mind. Last Epoch's the best game ever. Last Epoch's the best video game ever.
Since we're still talking,
I feel like you had more control over that in Last Epoch, or in Diablo 2.
So with itemization, where I think it's significantly better than D4 is it's not as convoluted, right? It's lightning damage, it's this resistance, it's this. It's not does 50% more damage to zombies eating sandwiches in the corner. You know, there's not all this different weird rare like instanced part of it. Don't get me wrong, you still have the ones like does double damage if cursed. It doesn't say like which curse, it just says cursed. And instead of like, you know, in Diablo you had, as a necro in Diablo, you had like you know, if they're for your overpower ability plus this, if they're bleeding or if they're crippled, if they're stunned, if they're like, it broke it down into each type of debuff instead of just, you know, damage if bleeding and just done with it, right? It's just a little more simplified to understand. It's a little bit easier to read.
Yeah. So
exactly, uprooting 25% more spoon damage on Tuesdays. Exactly.
That's exactly what. Yeah. So I get where you're coming from, because like Diablo has some like really weird substat shit that like nobody wants, right? Like, to be honest with you, like when it comes to Diablo 4, like a lot of their loot's just one. I mean, obviously here's the thing. I think that judging Diablo 4 is getting to be exhausting, because like we know that they have an upcoming like complete loot overhaul. I think that's going to be like one of their next upgrades. But at the same time, the thing is, I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I'm at the point now when it comes to Diablo 4 that I'm apathetic towards it, because I just don't actually believe that Blizzard has the leadership and the vision necessary to make a game that's appealing to everybody, or at least appealing to an audience that they want to make it for. I think that overall that they've just kind of lost touch with that. I think over the years, they've just gotten rid of the talent that's necessary for you to be able to make great games. It's not the name of a game that makes a great game or the idea of a great game. It's great people that know how to make great games that make great games.
Yeah, that's true.
And I don't think Blizzard has that anymore. Personally, I just don't think they have it.
No, shit. Think about your favorite games of all time, you know, or like say Mass Effect or whatever. Like you in your head you expect, hey, the next Mass Effect, you get excited about it or whatever, but you have to remember that none of the people that made the original game that you love so much are still there. It's a completely different group of people. So
Yeah.
like it's going to be a completely different product than what originally had come out.
Yeah.
And so where in Blizzard's case, I think they are man, kind of created their own problem, to be honest with you. To where they like it's just so big and it's gone on so long that they've kind of just lost their way of what they do. You know what I mean?
Big and
So
long,
it's
huh?
big and long. It's the way I like it. Daddy.
What the Anyway, yeah, no, I know. So, I mean, their problems are like they run deep.
They're self-inflicted. Yeah, they're just it's almost self-inflicted.
It is self-inflicted. Are you kidding me? Like over the years of how many people they've let go, people they've driven away. I've been listening to and watching a lot of Pirate Software lately, and he used to work for Blizzard. His father worked for Blizzard. He knows tons of people that worked over there, and I mean, he's talking about how they basically have like a Facebook support group where many of these people come back with their stories about working at Activision Blizzard, and they're, it's horror stories, the way that they were treating their employees, the things that they did. They used to have a class system where you had to have a different colored badge depending on what department you were in, and it actually turned into like if you were a QA tester, you were like a second class citizen. Like people would literally just not talk to you or listen to your ideas, like shit like that. Like just
that's kind of fair.
Oh my god. But the thing is that I think one of the things that a lot of people are going to like about Last Epoch specifically is that it just does the things it needs to do right. The ways that the game needs to make you feel good to play a game like this make you feel good.
Yes.
I have some issues that I have with the game. One of them is that I don't, this is just me personally, I just haven't really felt like I've been getting very good gear.
Yeah, me same.
Either that or I'm really bad at recognizing what is good gear and what's not.
I think that's the same too.
Yeah, so like it's probably a mix of both, of me just not getting good drops or me just not being able to recognize what I actually really want. However, I've been using a loot filter that's definitely made things easy. But one of the things that I will say is, like, oh my god, one of the most genius things that they've put into this game for their itemization, which I think I showed it here on this video that I had that was posted. I didn't actually highlight it, but those boots that I'm wearing, they have something on them that's called Weaver's. Actually, it's on these gloves, I think. When I show these gloves off here, it'll show it actually. Let me highlight it. Where is it at? There it is. These gloves, instead of having legendary potential, they have Weaver's Will. And what Weaver's Will does is the more enemies that I kill, the more experience the gloves get. And it starts applying what I believe is random affixes and suffixes. So it puts on like intelligence or attunement or resistances, movement speed, whatever. It'll just put that stuff randomly on there. And for each one of those levels, it will either add one or upgrade. So I have the boots that you can't really see them, but the boots that I have on right now have like 8 intelligence or something crazy like that, which, I got these boots when I was
crazy to get on boots. Yeah.
I got those boots like level, I don't even know, 20. I think I'm still might be wearing them right now because on top of that, they got like super high movement speed, which to me, all I care about is movement speed on the boots. If the boots have 30% movement speed, I'm wearing those. I don't care if all the rest of the substats suck. I need to be cruising. So
yeah,
I'm getting plenty of damage from other places.
I have a question. So
yeah.
On the potential, do you have to level up that too? Not the Weaver's Will, but the one that says potential.
No, legendary potential rolls randomly on the item that you pick up. So
okay,
so you can find something that has
it just stays on there though, right?
No. So this is the best explanation that I can give for legendary potential. Legendary potential is going to be either 0 through 4. Okay, that is a representation of how many suffixes, affixes, whatever you want to call them, that you can rip from a piece of exalted gear and throw it onto that unique. So uniques do not come.
Okay, got you.
Uniques won't come with intellect. They won't, at least from what I've seen, they won't come with intellect. They won't come with resistances. They won't come with any of that shit. They just come with their static stuff that they always have because it's a unique, and that's what it gets. I think you might be able to get rolls in between, certain, high end or low end of the rolls that unique can get. But what the legendary potential system is how many substats that I can pull from one piece of gear and shove it onto that unique and turn that into a legendary.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's like the ultimate crafting, orgasm. It's just incredible because it's like if that moment that you
saying
find,
it's a forgegasm?
The moment that you can find a the item that you need for your build and it has 4 legendary potential, you're now on the hunt for an exalted that has the perfect substats, and you're gonna slap those 2 things together and you're gonna be so damn happy because that is a BIS. That is best in slot. So legendary potential 3+ on very rare unique is basically impossible. Yeah, from what I understand, it's incredibly hard to find gear that has more than 2. I think I've only been finding stuff that has LP1. LP3 is a common unique, very findable. I mean, maybe it's just where I am in the game right now. I'm level 72, I think. I'm just now getting through my. I haven't been through all of the monoliths yet. I'm still working on a lot of that. I'm still working on a lot of that. America. Yeah. So yeah. Overall, last Epoch has been an absolute blast to play. The headaches, of course, when it comes to the matchmaking, or not matchmaking, but I guess it is, they call it matchmaking, but when it comes to the servers, yeah, it's been a pain in the ass. Luckily for me, I have a relatively flexible schedule as I'm unemployed, and I can just hop on whenever I need to. I usually get on in the off hours when people aren't really logged into the game anyway, when it kind of starts to fall. So it's easy for me to be able to hop onto servers. It hasn't really been too much of a problem. And because I have a little bit more freedom when it comes to logging in, if it takes an hour for me to even get into the game, it's not a big deal because I'm probably doing other stuff on the side, and I'm gonna, play it for however long I want. With that said, everything else has been absolutely fine. Last Epoch's been great, man. It's been been fantastic.
Because I made an offline character, I didn't know that they were having any issues until I flipped over to Twitter, or I flipped over to watch videos of people, losing their minds about stuff that I think is minute. So
Bonds Orelli, Bonds Gaming in the chat. What's up, brother? Just got done with your show and wanted to say hi. Well, hi.
Hello, hi. Mr. Fonzie.
So yeah, no, I mean, overall, I think the game's been great, man. I think the launch has gone really well for them. I'm really happy for the success of the game. I hope that they can turn around the server issues quickly because the game's only going to grow in the next coming week. More people are going to play it. You're just going to see more content. You're going to see more of the bigger content creators that cover ARPGs talking about the game and absolutely, raving about it. And it's just going to draw more players. And I think if Fon's saying he's playing Helldivers 2, I think Helldivers 2 is very much in the same seat of now that they have, when did Helldivers 2 come out? A couple weeks ago?
3 weeks ago.
It's still reaching peak concurrent players. It just hit 458,000, right? So the game's just continuing to grow because the more people that play it, the more people that talk about it, the more people are going to go give it a shot. And I think that largely when it comes to games like Last Epoch, when it comes to games like Helldivers 2, these are very much games that you have to play for yourself to recognize whether or not you are or are not going to like it. And for many people, when they play it, they're going to love it.
So Fonz is asking if it changes online. What changes is one of your options in the trading options later in the game. But for the most part, the gameplay is the same. I mean, it's the same game.
Yeah, you just won't be able to. If you play offline, you can't. Yeah, if you play offline, I mean, you just think about it as a single player game. You're just not going to have the ability to use trading or anything like that.
Yeah,
or play with friends.
You won't be able to or play with friends. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm doing my part right now. That's right.
I'm doing my part. Yeah, same loots, same loots and scoots. Yeah.
So we talked about Helldivers. We talked about Epoch. Do we have anything else?
We talked about the AA versus AAA.
We did.
Yep. Well, we did.
We did.
Yeah. I've only got a couple more things to speak on, and then I've got March releases for what's coming up for the beginning of the next month.
We don't really care about what's coming out next month, other than Dragon's Dogma 2. Let's be real. Let's be real.
What comes out the same day as Dragon's Dogma 2? What is it?
Oh my God! Have you guys seen that?
Horizon Forbidden West, the PC version, is coming out the same day.
Dude, I'm just gonna say it. I think that the guys over at Horizon have a kink, and their kink is releasing their game on top of the, like, most anticipated releases.
They just want to be dominated by whatever other game comes out the same day as them. That's it. They're just looking for a dom mommy. That's it.
Yeah. They're just like, oh, what's that? Elden Ring? We'll release on that day. I've actually seen, speaking of Elden Ring, so I've seen one of the conversations that's popped up online recently is there is a bunch of people that are like talking to these two indie companies that are both releasing Souls-likes, and they're releasing Souls-likes on the same day as the Elden Ring DLC.
That's smart. I mean, that's what I would do.
I wouldn't say it's smart, but I'll say it's something.
You mean...
I'm saying something. What the one developer tweeted out saying, "We are not maidenless." Like, I'm sorry. It's cool that you think this might work, but it's not. It's not. The people are going to go play Elden Ring, and your game's going to be obscure because you chose not to release it on a different day.
They forgot how viral Elden Ring went when it came out. You know what I mean? Like, they forgot.
You forget that it's the flag that everybody waves in the face of AAA games, just like Baldur's Gate 3. You forget that it's a game that changed the entire discourse around video games for the year that the game's release followed. It still is a part of the zeitgeist today when we're talking about video games or the video game industry, right? Yeah. Like, never mind that. I'm sure we'll be. It's just DLC. I mean, how many people are going to play the DLC? Come on, guys.
My son, he this morning he was like, "Yeah, I gotta go start a new Elden Ring run for the DLC."
For sure.
And I was like, you know what? It's not a bad idea.
I'm gonna do that, but I'll do it after Dragon's Dogma because I'll be already like in that action RPG groove, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Elden Ring DLC doesn't come out till June, so you've got time.
Oh yeah, plenty of time. I want to do it like close to it, so then that way I'm like warmed up anyway.
Yeah.
Plus, I lost my save data, and it didn't go to the cloud for Elden Ring, so I have to start it over anyway.
Yeah. Final Fantasy 14 Xbox beta is now live.
Oh, I've actually seen a lot of people really happy about Final Fantasy 14 on Xbox. Like a lot of people. There's like a whole wave. Like I follow the subreddits, and there's just people that are like, this game changed my life.
Yeah. No. It's a great game. The full Xbox launch is coming after the beta with gameplay data preserved and a subscription required for full access. So does that mean that they aren't doing the freemium part of it up to a certain point like they are on PC? You know what I mean? Like,
you still have free to play. They still have free to play.
Yeah, but it's acting like after the beta they won't. They're gonna have to have a sub. That's the way it read.
I don't. I
mean, I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
I'm all for Square Enix treating Xbox players like secondhand citizens, but
Robert Field super chatted $5. Are you scared that Dragon Dogma will be too big for its own good, and it might fall in the long term, or fail in the long term?
Too big for its own good.
That kind of happened with the first one, yeah. Except for it got outshined by a couple of different games, but it was pretty.
Dragon's Dogma was released in Dragon's Dogma was released in a window of games that just overshadowed it in general, and it wasn't marketed as hard as other games at the time. So the game had kind of an obscured launch. I think that. Also, thank you for the super chat, by the way. Do I think it'll be too big? If we're just talking about the hype, I mean, I could definitely see people being disappointed by the hype. I think that you're going to have a lot of people that are going to look at Dragon's Dogma and they're going to draw, conclusions immediately to Elden Ring or something like that. And in that case, they might be sorely disappointed because it's not the same kind of thing. You already have the wider gaming market, the more casual gamers that are like, it's not multiplayer, I'm not playing it. And it's just like, okay, well, fuck off. I didn't want you playing it anyway. Your pawns would have probably sucked. So, like, you have people that just genuinely misunderstand what the purpose of the game is, right? And those are the kind of people that disgust me.
Disgust is a strong word.
I know.
Disgust is a very strong word.
I have strong opinions for people that have bad things to say about Dragon's Dogma. So there you go.
All right. Now
they are second-class citizens. So
good news, bad news.
Well, no. So, but I still want to finish that thought. So the thing is that I think that you're gonna have a lot of people that have really high expectations for what Dragon's Dogma 2 is going to be, and I also have I think there's a lot of people that aren't prepared for what kind of game Dragon's Dogma 2 is going to be.
That I would agree with. I don't think they're understanding what the combat's going to be like and all that kind of stuff, and I think that's going to throw some people. It just is.
Yep. I think that people are looking for a game or think that the game is going to be much more welcoming than it actually is, and I think it's going to disappoint some folks in that regard. But with that said, I think that as an example, I have already seen people pop up with the discussions of, limited fast travel. Oh, it's just going to become a pain in the ass. Well, I'm sorry. You're just used to games making every single thing convenient. And now you've confused that with making that the idea that that's how you enjoy a game if it has, all these different conveniences. Personally, myself, when a game has so much fast travel, there's no reason to fucking walk. It removes it from the game. And they're like, oh, well, you say that, but wait until 40 hours. Well, the idea of a game like the idea of a game like Dragon's Dogma is supposed to be the adventure more than just the individual moment to moments or the individual moments, where a lot of games try to put all of their value into these action-packed cutscenes and a single boss fight. This game is about you traveling with your party across the lands. This is supposed to be the most old school feeling of old school feelings when it comes to an RPG. And I think that that's something that's necessary for a game like this to succeed and to stay true to its soul. This is a game that's being made by somebody that's making their dream game. Those are the games that typically end up being the best.
Yeah. I mean, and the head of the studio said it best. If your game needs to have, fast travel, then you have a boring game. If there's nothing to do in between your major checkpoints, then you have a boring game. I mean, it's that simple. Look at it from Ubisoft's standpoint, or even Horizon, where you go around the map and you climb something and you get your little checkpoint, your little fast travel spot, opens up map, and then you just keep doing that. And then they built this entire huge world with little to nothing to do in it, except for fast travel to the closest point that you need to do.
If I had to tell you guys what I think Dragon's Dogma 2 is actually going to be, I think that Dragon's Dogma 2 is going to be a current gen Dragon's Dogma 1 with 5 times the amount of things to do and space to travel. That's
it. That's it.
And guess what? That's perfect. Because it doesn't need to be anything else. It doesn't need to be anything else other than Dragon's Dogma 1. And for all intents and purposes, from everything that we've seen and everything we've heard and everything I've read so far, that is exactly what this game is going to be. 16 times the detail. 16 times the griffins.
16 times the disappointment.
No, it's more like 16 times the wolves arisen.
Oh my God. Fucking
wolves hunting packs arisen.
So
I've been here before, arisen. I think there's a treasure chest around here.
You need a shirt that just says pawn.
Yeah.
So we talked about it probably 2 podcasts ago about Sega dipping into their vault and releasing some of their older IP into new games and remakes, right?
Sega.
So Crazy Taxi and Jet Set Radio, which are really cool games, are going to be live service games.
I mean, is that confirmed?
Yeah, that's confirmed. Well, not I say confirmed. This is from a leaker. A good, which I think honestly, I think leakers are just like they're just like industry plants. They really are.
I feel like I feel like there's a mix. I feel like you have industry plants, you have disgruntled employees, and then you have people that are just absolutely lying so that they can get interactions on Twitter.
Yeah, for sure.
Really good example of that. The fucking Xbox leaks. Indiana Jones and Starfield are going to PlayStation. Now they might at one point, but that was not the announcement that was made.
Yeah, I think Tom Warren kind of took a hit on the chin for that a little bit. Yeah.
He didn't take it in stride either, by the way.
No, he did not.
He just doubled down.
You know what? He probably did hear that. He probably did hear that from Phil. The same source. Yeah, from Phil. And then Phil gets out there. He's like, I don't know what this motherfucker's talking about.
He goes out there and he's like, hey, dude, look. Satya is saying some crazy shit. I need you to go out there and just spread. This is the truth, by the way. I'm not kidding. For sure, this is going to happen. For sure, it's going to be Starfield, Gears of War. We're going to make Halo, but it's only going to be on PlayStation.
Oh, speaking of Halo, did you see? I was reading an article that someone in Forge has made a Helldivers mode for Halo. I thought that was kind of cool.
That is.
Really I don't know
cool.
how it would work. That's kind of cool that they did that. That's pretty
honestly,
cool.
when it comes to an IP like Halo, like just give the players the fucking tools to do whatever they want, because you guys obviously don't have the creativity to do anything else.
Yeah. And I guess the last thing that I have is basically just a get your opinion on something. And it's not necessarily red stringing it, but Sony's CEO has told Bungie that they need to figure it the fuck out, basically, on what they're doing.
Holy shit! I just figured out something. Go ahead.
When Bungie was initially purchased, it was so that they could help manage their help their teams build their live service games. And now that they don't have these live service games, Bungie losing that $10 billion.
They only needed one to succeed, and they got it.
Yeah, and they got it. But it's like, how do you feel about that? What do you think is going to happen
with Bungie?
With Bungie, yeah.
With Bungie?
Yeah, with Bungie.
Bungie. I'm going to be honest. I think that when it comes to Bungie, if Marathon flops, they're fucked. Because I think that Destiny 2 has reached the end of its life.
Yep, it has.
I think that they have squeezed that orange for all it's worth. And there's not a, like, once the final shape comes through or whatever they're doing now, once this comes through, like, you've just killed the existential major threat for your universe, which means that, you know, you should be looking towards Destiny 3 at that point, if that's what you're going to do. Though, how are you going to create a bigger villain than darkness itself? You know, like, man, you guys really shot
spreading everybody.
You guys really shot for the moon on that one, huh? Holy,
yeah, well, it's darkness.
Yeah, so like at the end, it's going to come to an end at some point. So that means that if Marathon is not what it needs to be, then there's going to be a serious problem for Bungie. And they'll just get massive layoffs until they eventually get dismantled entirely. Most of the leadership will start to leave. Your most valuable leadership will probably leave within the next couple of years regardless, because they'll want to go start their own studios. That's what we've been seeing across the board when it comes to many of these companies that have seemed to be like creatively robbed. They just creatively rob themselves and take their stuff and go to another company and start off making something different.
They take the ball and go home.
Look at Blizzard. Look at how many incredible games have cropped up from Blizzard people that started their own companies, and obviously were the ones that held all the keys and creativity. Really good example of this. Look at not Heroes. Look at Hearthstone. Hearthstone, when it dropped, was an absolute banger. I loved Hearthstone. Sorry, when it first came out, incredible card game. But the creative director loved card games, that creative director left and made their own company. You want to know what the next game he made was? Marvel Snap.
Oh, Marvel Snap, yeah.
So you're going to see more of that. Same thing goes for, I forgot what it's called. The guys from StarCraft left and they went and made their own company. And I can't remember what I think Ghost is the name of the company, if I'm not mistaken. And they have their own, RTS that they're making. Or something like that. I forgot what they made. But they have their own game that a lot of people are really excited about. And you're going to see more of that as time goes on. What?
I totally forgot we were going to talk about Rebirth.
Oh, Final Fantasy. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Start off the Rebirth conversation. I have to use the
feed the
boys
cat. Boys room my ass. So if anybody's been on Twitter, you've seen that Tfue has kind of Tfue. Did I say Tfue? All right. It's kind of a big deal. She is getting a lot of pictures on the old interwebs going. I read an article today from the developer behind Rebirth, one of the developers, warning people not to do spoilers. Tifa, I said Tfue. I don't know why I was thinking Sifu. Anyway, Tifa, yeah, she's been making her rounds in her swimming suit and everything else on Twitter. So pretty hot. Anyway, to try to hold back on spoilers for this game, which you should anyway, but still, like, I guess there's with the game coming out and being already having been reviewed and everything else, there is a big chance of spoiler alerts, because what's going to happen is a lot of these media sites are going to want to be the first ones to put out strat guides, the first one to do the how-tos, all that kind of stuff. So keep your eyeballs on the game and not on the internet.
Yeah. So one of the things
Tifa blew up on Twitter. She did on X.
Yeah. Well, and well deserved, by the way.
Yeah. Even
well deserved, by the way.
Even Alana was talking about how hot Tifa is. So
don't blame her. So for this discussion that we're talking about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, one of the things that I will have to say, I need to blow this up a little bit, otherwise I might get the YouTube police coming my way. So one of the things that I will have to say is this, is that what does it tell you when they release the embargo on reviews, a week before the game comes out?
That it's a good game.
Yep. And when you see that all of those reviews are what, 9s and 10s? Yeah.
I mean, for example, Suicide Squad didn't give people review copies. So yeah, I'm
excited for this, like beyond excited. I loved Final Fantasy VII Remake. It was absolutely fantastic. It was, and it looks like with this, all they're going to do is just deliver on what they delivered on the last game, but make it even better and even bigger than the last one. And
turn the volume up.
And I think that far too many times that we see when it comes to, sequels, and I'm seeing this as like a sequel more than anything else. But anytime we see sequels to games, sometimes they either they lose the plot. And the nice thing is with this, they didn't lose the plot. They just stuck to what worked in the first game and then just expanded upon it. And from everything that I've heard across the board, all the reviews that I've read so far, combat is even better, even more fluid. I know it is because I played the demo. I didn't play the second demo because I just didn't really want to spoil myself too much. That I've been busy playing other games as well. But one of the things that I will say that I was really impressed with just from the demo is just how fluid combat feels in comparison to the first game, or to the first Final Fantasy Remake. Because there were some rocky spots where, you do some aerial combos and stuff, but, you just drop right back down to the ground. You couldn't chain combos or dodge midair, and because of that, it just felt weird. And especially after going and playing a game like Final Fantasy 16, where the combat is the main focus of the game, you're kind of left feeling a little awkward. Because I played Final Fantasy VII Remake, I replayed it after beating Final Fantasy 16, and I was sitting there like, man, I really hope they take some inspiration from Final Fantasy 16 with some of the action combat sections, because there's a lot here that they could use that would make the game just feel better to play. They did that. They did exactly that. they took all the areas, they closed the gaps that were necessary, and they've just added more. And I think that one of the best things that I've seen when it comes to like a lot of the trailers, and you guys just saw a little bit of it right there, was that it almost looks like they're kind of taking a little bit of inspiration from Yakuza.
Yeah, it's a mini game. It's mini game centric.
There's like so many mini games and stuff that they're showing off, like a ton, and I love that stuff.
I watched Friends Per Second, and they were talking about, because they all got review copies. Not all of them. I'm sorry. The lady on there did, and she was talking how so many mini games that she would actually get wrapped up in just playing mini games and not finish getting her review done because she was playing mini games. You know?
Yeah, which I mean, that's great. We love to have extra content to play. That's one of the things when we talk about things that we want from the games that we play, is that we want these games to be worth the money that we spend on them. And one of the best ways to make those games worth the money we spend on them is not only to deliver on the main game itself, but give us other things to do as well. Especially if those things aren't really required for us to do, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that overall, like, I'm really excited to give the game a play. I think that it's really funny that some of the conversations that initially popped up for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth were people that were upset because they were afraid that Square Enix was going woke, because apparently they took out the section of the game, or the thing in the game where you could steal Tifa's underwear. That was from like the original game. Okay. And then now that is all automatically have been silenced because, you know, Tifa Big Bazunga's bathing suit. Yeah.
Yeah. She a bad bitch.
She bae. So
yeah,
it's just funny. It's just funny how the discourse can switch like that all of a sudden.
I think my only issue with this game is that it's console exclusive.
Oh, you found it. That's what it is. You found her underwear. Yeah. But you could. I'm pretty sure you could take them, couldn't you? If I'm not mistaken. It's been so long since I played Final Fantasy VII. But either way, there were people that were upset about that specifically, and it's just like, then they come out and they're like, yeah, well, how about we just have them half naked in the game instead? And it's like, well, you know what? Yeah, that's probably better. And think about all the fan art you're gonna get now.
Yeah.
It's a key item with no use. Yeah, exactly. So it's just like,
is there any word on when this is going to be on moved to PC?
No, they haven't said anything, and they likely probably won't until the effective date goes away. At least until after release, right? I'm thinking about this from Sony's perspective. Why would I shoot myself in the foot for no reason?
Yeah, no, for sure.
They're not going to gain. They themselves will not gain anything from this game going onto PC.
No, they won't.
Right. So why would they be like? They I would imagine it's probably in their exclusivity clause that it is. Because they did the same thing to Square Enix with Final Fantasy 16. They made sure that like there's multiple interviews where people were asking, hey, when is Final Fantasy 16 going to be coming to PC? And Square Enix and Naoki Yoshida straight up just said, we're not allowed to talk about that. We'll talk about it when it's the appropriate time. So they have they have a gag order when it comes to their PC release date that's built into their exclusivity contract with PlayStation.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm super excited about it. What day is that? The 29th? What is that?
29th.
Thursday. All right. Can do.
Now I have a full off streaming game. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, don't stream it. Enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna chill and vibe and just play it. Initially, I was thinking about streaming it, but then I was like, no, people just kind of want to enjoy it. Like, I get that like some people like watching other people enjoy a story or something like that. But for the most part, when it comes to a game, for me at least, when it comes to a game like that, like I'm not going to be able to talk about it as much if I don't like just sit back, enjoy, and play the game myself. Streaming a game like that might be difficult. Yeah. I'm just going to stream Last Epoch for probably the next few weeks, to be honest with you. Last Epoch, and then maybe I'll jump back and play some. I'll probably do some Helldivers as well.
Yeah. Saturdays is what you said you want to start streaming some HD.
Yeah, we can do Helldivers on Saturday for sure. Next Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
And
down.
we do. Yeah,
I'm
we'll do
down.
next Saturday. We'll do Helldivers. Cool. Works for me. Works for me. Well,
All right.
anyway,
so-
ladies and gents,
Go ahead.
Mark has to go to sleep.
No, I don't. I have to go to work. There's a
Mark has to, ladies and gentlemen, Mark has to go to work. We've ran over our overtime big time today, but that's we had some technical issues and stuff like that. Stuff that will be
sorry
fixed
about
in the
sorry
future.
about that.
Yeah, it is what it is. It happens. We fixed it on the fly, or at least we did what we could. What time? I don't know. Usually when stream starts about 1 or 2 o'clock. So, yeah. Mark, do you have anything to say? Final words.
I think everybody in this chat is awesome for showing up and supporting the podcast and supporting Ian on his videos. Please hit those like buttons if you could. Especially on the podcast, but on his videos. I'm just kidding. I actually Ian, me and Ian talk about Ian talks about YouTube with me a lot. And he really is appreciative of you guys, like really. So he is. He can say he's not. He's got this ego. He is. Other than that, that's all I got. I can't wait till next Sunday to see you guys again. We'll have some more Rebirth to talk about, and then
Yeah. So we have plenty to talk about next week for sure. So anyway, my friends, I am going to get some food. I'm going to feed my cat, and then I'm going to play some Last Epoch and chill out for the rest of the evening. Tomorrow, I'll be recording a video. I might end up streaming later that day. I don't know. We'll see. If not, I definitely stream on Tuesday, so you'll see me then. Anyway, thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for coming to the podcast. Stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe, and most of all, we will see you in the next podcast. Podcast.